Welcome back to West of Everest. I'm Lee Benson. He is Grant Benson, and playoff football is right around the corner. Just a couple of days away to be exact, as we record here midweek in the middle of December. Coming up, OU Alabama Part 2, and while this will officially be the beginning of the college football playoff, for the Sooners, this might as well be the second playoff game that Oklahoma has played against Alabama in the last 5 weeks or so. And if you're counting must-win situations as playoff games, this Friday will be Oklahoma's fifth playoff game of the 2025 season. Of course, we'll have plenty of thoughts on the rematch between OU and Bama. Plus, we'll make our picks on the other college football playoff games and some other bowl games going on. We'll do that at the very end of the show, like always. And since it's been about a week and a half since our last episode, we'll have some time probably to hit on some other college football stories and topics that have happened since Selection Sunday. There's been some awards given out. Of course, one of those awards was the Heisman Trophy. Notre Dame embarrassing themselves, which I found to be incredibly entertaining and engaging over that time, although maybe other people don't think so. Sherrone Moore, maybe? I don't know. Well, that was crazy. Who knows? So with that, let's say hello to Grant for the first time in a while. Grant, what's going on?
Nothing much. A lot has happened. A lot has happened in the college football world since we last had a conversation. I think you kind of teed it up there really, really nicely, but I don't know. I'm trying to decide whether or not it's felt like a long time since OU last, played their last game. And I think I've settled on not really. It doesn't really seem like that long ago. Like, how we're typically, especially when OU made the playoff, the 4 out of 5 seasons in the mid 2010s, it felt, that break between the Big 12 championship game and the first playoff game just felt like forever, just felt like so long. That's not the case this time around. It's really only been, they've basically just had 2 bye weeks, essentially, is how it's going to turn out to be.
I got some numbers for you if you want.
I would love some numbers.
Go on this topic. I looked it up. Because, it's typical this time of year. You're waiting for a big game, and it seems like a long time. And as time has gone on, and I think you and I are simpatico on this, to me, it has not felt like a long time has gone by. This game has gotten here pretty fast. I mean, we're recording Wednesday night. The game's in technically in less than 2 days now. And it used to be way longer. So, okay, by the time they kick off Friday, it will have been 20 days since the last time OU played. Since the fact that the LSU game is almost 20 days ago to me is insane. It's flown by. Like, it feels like just very recently that, we were there at the game. So it'll be 20 days. Now, compare that to the last time OU was in the playoff. Got to go all the way back to 2019 with Jalen Hurts and that team, and they played LSU. Think back. It was also relatively short. It was 21 days between games. Granted, Oklahoma played in the Big 12 title game that season. So if they would not have played in the Big 12 title game, it would have been a longer stretch, but I did the math earlier. Now, so very similar to the last time they're in the playoff. Now go back to 2018 and 2017. Now we're starting to cook here. 2018, the Kyler Murray season. Would you like to guess the amount of time between the Big 12 title game that season against Texas and then when they played Alabama off the top of your head?
Well, because it was, if I remember correctly, so the Jalen Hurts one, that was because that was just a weird quirk in the scheduling. I think they played that game like on the 27th or something like that, which is a lot.
Played the Big 12 title on the 7th, played the Peach Bowl, I think it was the Peach Bowl, on the 28th.
Okay, yeah. So and typically, in the 4-team era, they were most of the time playing the games on New Year's Day. So, let me see. Okay, so 2018, it would have been, who'd they play in the Big 12 title year? Texas.
Texas, yeah.
God, I hate Texas. I almost said the F word with Texas at the end of it. So I think that game was like a December 1st game, and then they didn't play until like January 2nd, I don't think. So it was like 31 days.
All right, so you're in the ballpark. So, and the whole point of this, bringing it around, is that if you're really mad and think that it's taken forever for this game to get here, it's really not. 20 days. In 2018, there was 28 days between. It was December 1st and then December 29th when they played Alabama. And then you go back to 2017 with Baker's last year, Baker's Heisman year, when OU played in the Rose Bowl. That was 30 days. I mean, and that one took forever.
That one took forever. That was forever.
It was mixed with it took forever, a month. That was literally a month. But also, we all had high expectations and thought Oklahoma would win the national title. I mean, they were really good, even though the defense was not great. But
I mean, I didn't.
Okay, well, just Mr. Nostradamus over there. But to me, that's why that one felt even longer, because I was so excited to watch that team play against Georgia, and I had a strong feeling that the offense would have its way, and they did. And that was after that game. It was so annoying because everybody that had opinions on that game, pro Georgia or pro OU, ended up being right. That's what was so frustrating about that. It's just Georgia had all theirs in the second half.
It was just a great game. It was just a great college football game, and Georgia ended up having more dudes than OU, and that's why they won. But like thinking back, if you go back like a bunch of years, think of 2008. Like that game, those games were typically played like a week after New Year's. And so that was like that was probably like 36, 37 days.
I mean, I feel like the game, I think that was like January like 8th or something when they played Florida. For some reason, that date stands out to me in my head. And it was on a Thursday night. And I remember that. Because we play, which honestly, to be honest, like I would prefer the national title. If they're going to play it on a weeknight, I think Thursday's better than Monday. At least the next day's Friday. At least you're close to the weekend.
Well, remember that season, that 2000, that would have been 2009 at the time, but the 2008 season, that predates Thursday night football. It didn't exist yet.
So now I don't know about that.
I don't think it did. I think Thursday night football became like a thing in like 2010, 2011.
I just did a quick little Google and tells me that the first season of Thursday Night Football on NFL Network was 2006, so it existed.
Oh, interesting.
So I guess it is possible that they were going up. I guess they were probably going up against an NFL game that night. But
actually, now that you say that, that reminds me that in the 2007 NFL season, that was the year the Patriots went undefeated in the regular season. That the regular season finale that year that was at the Giants, that was a Thursday night game. I remember that now. So
wait a second. Sorry, no, I mean they weren't going up against a game because Thursday night football ends. I mean it's January. It would have been playoff time for the NFL, so they weren't doing Thursday night games anymore in January. So yeah, they'd have been solo. They'd have been versus like the NBA or whatever. Okay, who cares? That is a wayback machine.
That was 17 years ago. We're old. All
right, so how much do we want to hit on everything? I mean, everyone's talked about the game, right? I mean, everyone's talked about the game a bunch. We haven't, except for, although we did do a decent amount on the game on Selection Sunday, probably more than I thought we would.
Well, I think that's where
we have different thoughts now.
That's, I think, where it gets, because I think like in terms of X's and O's, about like what needs to happen to win the game, I think talking about this game in that context is just snooze. I mean, it's just not interesting. This is where, and I, right after we heard of the announcement, I got on here and said I'm not super jazzed about the Alabama game, and I don't like rematches in college football. I know, like I can already tell, like you'll say that they happen all the time in the NFL. I don't care. This isn't the NFL. Those are professionals. This is a different product, and so I've heard a lot of people predict this is going to be like a really ugly rock fight. And I think if you're staying honest with yourself, or if you're actually trying to be right, I think that's the only thing that you can predict. Like if you come out and say it's like, yeah, these teams are actually going to kind of go up and down the field and score a lot of points, and you end up being right about that, you're just throwing crap against the wall to see if it sticks. There's no reason to believe that's going to happen. So how many ways can you make it interesting to say that this is going to be another defensive slugfest that's probably going to come down to 4 or 5 plays on either side? Because that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, and to back up what you're saying, I mean, I think whenever, I'm sure we talked about this on our last show, whenever the matchup was announced, I think at that time the total for the game was 40 something, maybe 41, 40. Now it's down under 40. I mean, so people are betting the under. And if you don't know what we're talking about, I mean, you look at the odds makers and that gives you an indication of what kind of game they expect. And when the total's that low, that leads you to the low scoring rock fight affair. I mean, the last time they played it was 23-21. I mean, that's a total of 44 points. So it makes sense that the total for this game would have been posted. I think it was posted at like 40 and a half or 41, maybe 42. I have to go back and listen to our show. I can't remember what it was, but it's gone down since then. And the line might as well be a pick 'em. I mean, it's gone back and forth. I think depending on where you look now, OU's favored, but Bama was favored. Bama has probably favored some books now. So, whoever you like the most, you can probably find. Like, let's say if you like OU, you can probably find OU plus some points, or just on the money line. But it's going to be a wash either there. I mean, there's not going to be much juice. So, all that to say, you're exactly right. This game is probably going to be close, and it's probably going to be low scoring. That's what the odds makers are telling us. And one last thing, you mentioned the rematch thing. I will say this. I think using the NFL as, hey, man, like rematches happen all the time in the NFL, so who cares about this one? That's a bad argument because the NFL and college football are different. There's more games in the NFL. So I would not use that as a, yeah, there's so like, come on, what's the problem with the rematch in college? But at the same time, I don't mind the rematch. It's fine. It is what it is. I mean, and I don't mind it in the sense that I think this was the correct matchup given the way the season played out. I think this was the most accurate way the standings should have gone. So that's why I think I'm okay with it, because I don't think Alabama should have been docked. I don't think they should have been dropped. I don't think they obviously should not have been moved up. I think Oklahoma at eight's probably fair. So that's another reason why I don't mind it, because I think that's the correct matchup given the full scope of the season.
Oh yeah, I mean, intellectually I have nothing against it. I think you should seed the teams how, and like we were trying to speculate whether or not the committee would take rematches into account, and you during the show went and found that no, they do not take into account. And I don't think they should. They should seed it by how they, and let the chips fall where they may. And so in that sense, yeah, I mean, I think they got it right. I thought the committee seeded 1 through 10 correctly. And um to me it's just the matchup just doesn't have a lot of juice. It's not, um as an OU fan, watching the first game in Tuscaloosa was really fun. It was cool. But it wasn't like an incredibly great college football game.
I mean, I think if you're an outside college football fan, I could see how you would be like, I'm not that. I've already seen this game. Who cares? That's fine. I mean, but as an OU podcast, we like OU. I mean, I think this, just the fact that and I can't remember if we even talked about this in our last show. So much time has gone by. We've talked about it offline for sure, but the fact that this game is at home, it's a home playoff game. It's never happened before. Granted, it could have never happened before until the last 2 years. So I don't think it's really fair to really compare it to the history of college football, because this is brand new. But still, it's new and it's cool, and hopefully versions of this will continue and exist long past you and I are no longer doing this podcast or on this earth, because that's cool. And the fact that it is Alabama and it is Oklahoma, it's two blue bloods, traditional programs. I think that's something. And the last part about it that's super interesting is that it's going to be on TV nationally by itself. I mean, unless you're a big NBA fan, I mean, there's nothing else going to be going on. And I mean, there's no NFL going on. There's no other college games going on. There's no other bowl games. So Oklahoma's going to get their national stage. It's a Friday, so the ratings aren't going to be as good as it would be if it was like on a, I don't know, Sunday or whatever. I mean, it's college football, but it's going to be pretty good, and it's going to be a national audience.
Well. Yeah, it's going to do well in the ratings. It's the only thing that's on.
It's going to do better than the Saturday night game. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah. The Saturday night game on TNT.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I guess just one more thing on this, why I'm not, because I've been trying to figure out why I'm not super jazzed about this game, and I think it comes down to, I think one of the coolest promises of an expanded playoff, that you can go back and listen to the first or second episode you and I ever did of this podcast 8 years ago. And we were already talking about how cool it would be to have an expanded playoff. And one of the big reasons is that you get cross conference matchups that you don't typically see. And this is a conference game. This is a conference game.
Yeah.
That's what, and I understand that the cool little college football playoff logo is going to be on the field. I understand that it's a different type of thing. It is a home game, but you don't have the same sort of perks as some of like the home stuff. Hasn't been confirmed yet, because I know last year, like the home teams were not able to use like their graphics and everything. Like it was like they had
Huh.
to, and so I was listening to the Sooner Scoop podcast today, and it sounds like, like Eddie Radosevich he's always on the field shooting the game. He's not allowed to be on the field to shoot the game in this one.
Well, I think that's always
So
been a college football playoff rule, the big game. I mean, you have
he
to go
said
back and
it's not. He said that this is going to be the first time he's been at an OU game where he hasn't been on the sideline in like nearly 15 years.
well, yeah, but
And
that's
that
well, it's because
includes
it's a college football.
that includes all of the playoff games.
No, I think he said OU home game. I think I heard that too,
Oh.
right? Because if I remember right, I mean, because they've had the ESPN's had rights to the college football playoff. Granted, I suppose I'm trying to remember if when I was covering stuff, I mean, because I never got to go to any of the playoff games back in 17, 18, 19. I always had to stay back at News 9, unfortunately. I'm trying to remember if our guys that went, I don't think they were able to shoot the games on the
Okay.
sidelines.
So maybe
because all the stuff
that
I
is just
always,
a home game.
yeah, no, they couldn't because all the video I'd see when they got back was all just like pregame and, but yeah, so and so it just happens to be, obviously it's a home game. So,
I'll be curious to
anyways,
see from the people
whatever.
who are there whether or not like OU is able to do their normal stuff like for a home game. Because last year they weren't able to. So
Well, I mean, all things go to plan. I mean, I can tell you, I plan
are
on
you
being
gonna be
inside
there?
that stadium. That's
Well,
the plan.
that's
We'll
fun.
see.
That's fun. So
Yeah.
all right. Well, yeah, and who knows? I don't know if I feel super strongly about it, but that's a rule that does not need to exist. That's really
Yeah.
silly.
Hopefully that's not true. Hopefully that's not true because I heard that too last season, but I don't remember following up on it. And OU wasn't involved, so I just probably didn't care. But yeah, like why the NCAA has nothing to do with this playoff. So why would the college football playoff feel the need to do the dumb like stuff they do with let's say for example like the college baseball and the college softball tournaments wherever they have home sites yet they still have things where there's like rules where who can be the home team and so it's like no I'm sorry if you earn the right to host you should always get to be the home team no matter what the game is unless for some reason you don't want to be. I think that's a terrible rule that if you where it's so weird whenever there's like elimination games and stuff and like the women's college world like super regionals or something and the actual home team's like the away team. Like who that's you're overthinking things, people in charge. That's the NCAA. This is not the NCAA. Why would they have any sort of weird rules on trying to keep things even? If not, like you earn the right to play at home.
Absolutely.
So,
but yeah, and you know what? It just kind of feels like OU plays Alabama a lot. They play Alabama a lot. Even when they weren't in the same conference, it kind of felt like they were playing relatively often. So,
I don't know, man. It's they haven't played them, but they haven't played them as much as all the other Big 12 teams. So I think yes, it's a conference game, but and they played Alabama. I mean, one thing if it was like a conference game, but they were playing Florida or like a team they haven't seen yet in the last 2 years, it'd be different. It'd feel different. But yes, in that sense, I think one of the hopes of this season, especially with Oklahoma and how tough their schedule has been, you kind of hope that like yeah, if they make that playoff, that first game, it'd be kind of cool if they got to go up against a team that didn't have a top 15 defense, like or whatever. Like, so
I mean, realistically, though, when you play in the playoff, you're going to play a team that has a top 15 defense in all likelihood. But also, I mean, this is a game where and like I do kind of subscribe to like the cliche that, especially in college sports, it's hard to beat a good team twice. It's really hard.
I wonder if there's actual. I mean, there's definitely got to be numbers behind that. Do you think it's just a saying, or do you think it's actually accurate?
I think it's probably just like a truism. Like it's probably a saying because it probably is. Even if you win the game, it's like, that was hard. That was different. You have to take a different route to get there. because both teams have tape. They know what worked the first time. They know what didn't work the first time. And so I think a lot, and this is football, right? It's only been for Alabama. They've basically just had a bye week. OU has had the 2 bye weeks, and there's only so much that you can add. There's only so many wrinkles that you can add. Football is a dance. It's a thing. You have practice and rehearsals for a reason. There's a lot of timing involved in it. So you can't just add a bunch of new plays and stuff like that and be like, yeah, these are going to work really well. It doesn't work that way. And so I think a lot of the time, like really the only thing is like, especially for the offense and the defensive coordinators, is how do we do our stuff but present it in a different way pre-snap? Like that's going to be sort of like the chess match in this game. And um we'll see. And it goes both ways. I mean, I'm sure you have like um Alabama had over 400 yards of offense and they moved the ball really well in the first half, much less so in the second half of that game. And Oklahoma's defense is going to know what worked for them in the second half of that game, and I think they're going to probably employ it a lot more in this game. And I think you're probably going to see Alabama struggle to move the ball more so than they did the first time around in this game. But it goes both ways. Oh, you could move the ball at all in the first game, and so Alabama's going to come in with that knowledge as well. And I think it'd be really unlikely for Alabama to hold OU to like 206 yards again. That's probably not going to happen. But it's probably still going to be pretty tough sledding at times. And so this is an OU team where the defense is great. The defense is really good, I think, and especially their front seven is just terrific. I think maybe the best in college football. But self-scouting a little bit, man, the offense isn't good. It's not good. And the offense can get them beat on any single night that they play. And Alabama's defense is good. Alabama's defense, I mean, they got run by Georgia, but Alabama's defense was not bad in that game. They were just put in really awful positions. So it's just it's a game that I feel like is and I understand that a lot of people feel totally different about this, but I don't think it's a great spot for OU, and I think it's a magnificent spot for Alabama. And if you remember before the first iteration of this game a little over a month ago, I had pretty much the exact opposite feeling. I thought it was a great spot for OU, not a very good spot for Alabama. And I honestly think that has been totally flipped.
I don't think it's a magnificent spot for anybody. I think that's a pretty hyperbolic word. But is it a better spot for Alabama than OU, just given everything that's going on? Probably. And that's mainly because even though the betting line is essentially a pick 'em, we talked about it a little bit ago, on the outside it'll be easy for Kalen DeBoer, and honestly to some extent for Brent Venables as well, to play up the nobody believes in us card, which is a cliche, but it's a thing. But I mean, truly, it's probably more for Alabama considering everybody was crapping on them for one making the playoff, and then, well, the first thing was them getting beat by Georgia, as soundly as they did, and then everyone thinking that they shouldn't be in it, and they backed in, even though technically I don't think they backed in because they should have already before that SEC title game they had already locked up their spot because they were playing an extra game and nobody else really had to. And yeah,
if South Carolina had won one extra conference game, Alabama wouldn't have been in the SEC title game. It would have been Ole Miss. So like, and nobody, and Ole Miss loses 28-7 at 11-1. Nobody is saying they should be left out. Yeah, that whole I'm glad that there's been we've gotten further away from that. It's just made me, in the moment realize that, yeah, I mean, that's obviously right. It would have been an injustice to get to take Alabama out of the bracket, I think. So
it's that whole real quick, that whole actual topic to me would be worth a larger discussion because there are so many people that know college football and been around, and like college football is whatever, there's tons of opinions that were of the mind that Alabama deserved to be out. And it's like, it just makes no logical sense based off of, and so I just think that would be a really interesting discussion to have with people that disagree with us to hear their reasoning.
Agreed.
But that's definitely something that would be for like off season.
Yeah. And we
topics.
And we'll get to maybe a grab bag part of this where we talk about Notre Dame and all of that stuff. And I think maybe the whole, the knee jerk Alabama should be out stuff, I think that would fit in maybe really, really nicely with the talk on Notre Dame as well. about how they decided to end their season. Talk about knee-jerk reactions. Um, so, but anyway, back to the game being played in less than 48 hours, or in almost exactly 48 hours from when I am saying these words right now. Um, I this isn't even necessarily a situation where I think, and I'm sure both coaches are gonna are gonna try to play up the nobody believes in this thing. It kind of seems like OU has been feeding off of that for the last month and a half anyway. But Alabama can do that now. But when I look at what national people are saying about this game, I've gotten the sense that nobody really feels super strongly about this game, one way or the other. I've seen a lot of people pick OU, and they pretty much all picking OU for the exact same reason. OU's if I had to pick any unit on in this game, it'd be OU's defense, and they're at home. And people picking Alabama are doing so because it's just kind of like, I don't think OU's that good. It's been pretty much like that down the line, but also they're not being like, I think Alabama's going to win by 3 scores. It isn't that at all. It's I think OU's offense stinks and everything else is pretty good. But Alabama's a little bit more balanced and they're going to win. So it's just been sort of like, I don't know what's going to happen type thing, because it is like in a rock fighty game, which this is likely to be. Super fluky plays probably can and maybe will decide the game.
All right, here's what we're going to do. Let's talk just real briefly. Let's take a break because we're waiting for the latest availability report to come out. And you can double check and see if it's already up. But and if it is, let's just jump into the game. But if it's not,
it's not up yet. I mean, should we just talk about? You just want to start, because if we're going to go into the game, we might, because I think that's a big part of it. So we can vamp for 5 minutes on the availability reports, and then by the end of it, we'll be like, and here is the updated availability report. That's supposed to be out in 5 minutes. So I think obviously looking on OU's side, the biggest development there is that R. Mason Thomas not on the availability report. He's just not there, and that means that you would think that he is a full go. He's ready to go, and they let reporters into practice on Monday of this week. And by all available accounts, most people were saying it looked like R. Mason Thomas was a full go at practice, as in was doing all of the things that all of the other defensive linemen were doing.
Good, yeah. And I mean, think about it. It's been 6 weeks, maybe even 7 weeks since the guy's played. I mean, we still don't even know what happened to him. I mean, we kind of have like ideas and stuff.
He just pulled his quad.
Okay, I thought it was like
strained his squad.
So his quad, we kind of thought it was hammy, but something in his leg, one of his legs. And hopefully he is good, rested. I mean, and ready to roll, man. I mean, that's obviously terrific. And I want to be consistent. Not a big, one of my biggest hot takes. I guess, because depending on you listen to the people that talk about the NFL and certain players, defensive players are just not that important generally. But like when a bunch of them are out, then they can add up. I mean, Oklahoma won a bunch of games without R. Mason Thomas.
Well, yeah,
because like as a team, they have a good defense.
Yeah, OU's got the best defensive line room in the country. They're really good there. Like they could withstand that. But I say that
in sense of like one guy here and there, like it can be replaced, even if it's so. But that being said, yeah, of course we're all excited about the potential of R. Mason Thomas being available, and especially after Oklahoma played so well the first time.
Do you expect? Because I'm trying to keep my expectations in check. Because let's say, just for the sake of argument, let's say it is a quad injury, and let's take that into the context of what we understand R. Mason Thomas's biggest, like his strengths to be as a pass rusher. His quads, his hamstrings, or whatever kind of seem like the most important muscle groups for the things that he does really, really well, which is namely getting a really quick get off the line of scrimmage and being quick around the edge. And so is he going to be 100%? Probably not, right? Like I don't maybe he's really skilled at playing while he's injured, though. We don't know that yet. So
I don't know, man. If he just pulled it, he should be. If he like tore it, and it's like torn. I mean, that's like
isn't that a micro
there's different
tear? That's what it
grades. There's
is.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, there's different grades though. I mean, and I used to use the example of back in the, I mean, I used to pull my hamstring all the time playing baseball, all the time. But I just pull it. I mean, I didn't tear it off the bone, and it would be I'd be able to play. I mean, baseball's different than football, but like it would heal up in a week or two and be fine. You stretch it out and things. So point being is that if he just pulled his quad, it after all this time, it's not like a total just rip tear that's like awful. Like whatever the grade, there's different grades. I think he should be pretty close to 100%. Hopefully that's what it was.
I hope so. I hope so because I think maybe the highlight of the 2024 season, I guess, other than them winning, in at Auburn. Maybe the highlight for me was watching R. Mason Thomas just dominate Caden Proctor for 60 minutes on when they played last year in Norman. And I'm kind of that's something that's been sort of satisfying for me to hear, and it's happened a lot more in the last month or so, especially when people have been kind of been crapping all over Alabama and just like their offense isn't working anymore. But people are kind of starting to come around and understand that Caden Proctor's not really any good at all. He's a big fat piece of crap. That's
Are
really mean.
people actually starting to say that, or is that just you?
Yeah. Well, it's just he struggles with speed. Like guys can run around him all the time.
Well, and that's another reason why before they played the first game, and we were talking about in the pregame podcast, all the ridiculous stuff that they did in this season with Caden Proctor, getting him the football and stuff. Like the guy obviously for his size is athletic for his size, but
oh, for sure, yeah.
But he's a gigantic, fat, slow guy though in general, and it was always just ridiculous because I remember watching him his first year or two, and granted he's young, but he's just big dude, but he got beat all the time by speed rushers. I never understood why he was like I mean, he was a 5-star because of his size, but yeah, I've never understood. And granted, like he'll probably be a first-round pick because of his size, and if he just loses a little bit of weight, he'll probably be pretty good.
That 2023 season, I remember coming on this podcast. That was the year that Alabama played Michigan in the Rose Bowl or whatever, and like I was going through the numbers and like I can't remember the exact thing, but like Jalen Milroe was like one of the most, if not the most sacked quarterback in the entire country in 2023. And I heard all of this like, oh, Caden Proctor, so it's freshman All-American, future top 5 pick. And I was like, how good can this guy be if Milroe got sacked 40 times?
I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, that'd be great to see him.
Yeah. We just saw Michael Fasusi. Like, how often is Michael Fasusi just getting beat like a drum off the edge? Not very often. Not happening very often. So, I think, well, let's see here. It's 7-Eleven now. Ooh, 7-Eleven's good. Wish I could get like a slushie right now. That's the time, by the way. Slurpee. Ooh, that right. Slurpee's good. Oh, it is up. All
right, so R. Mason Thomas seems like he'll be available. That's a good thing.
He is playing.
Next up.
So trying to remember what okay, yeah, that's right. So yesterday it was the guys who are out are Gentry Williams, who we've known about. He had surgery. Kendall Dolby is out, and I think we learned today that he has entered the transfer portal.
Yep.
Jeremiah Newcomb is out. He has been out since September, and Troy Everett, who has been out the entire season, also out. Yesterday, Javante Barnes was listed as probable. He is no longer on this report. I believe that means he is, who knows if he'll play, but he is healthy enough to play is what that means. Jake Michaelo was questionable and is still questionable. My vibe is that he probably will not play. Just kind of based on he's the center. People saw he was in full pads and practicing on Monday, but he was off to the side, like not actually like doing individual drills.
Probably limited, it seemed.
He was limited. He was a limited participant. Yeah. It sounds like, for whatever infection he had, he was in the hospital for a while. I think George Stoya had said that his observation at practice earlier this week, it looked like he had lost quite a bit of weight. I don't think, and maybe he'll be available like in an emergency situation, but it kind of makes sense to me, especially if he hasn't really been a full go and maybe he's just getting to the point where he's getting healthy again. You would assume that Febechi Wiwu has been practicing at center this entire time. That's probably part of the game plan, et cetera, et cetera. So I think at this point, I think the safe assumption at this point is to expect the same starting offensive line that we saw against LSU, which, like every offensive line combination this season, was pretty good to terrific in pass protection, and could not move a soul in the run game. And I assume that's probably going to be the case again this time around.
Yeah, I share your exact thoughts. The way I would look at Michael, given everything we know and everything that's public, to me it seems like he's available in case of emergency. It's been more than 3 weeks since he was hospitalized with it, dealing with that infection. That's a long time. And if he's, again, it seems like maybe he's been limited in practice. And if what George said about the weight thing is true, I mean, there's no way. It seems like there's no way he could be in position, or his conditioning is probably not great. Probably gets winded really fast. He's not strong. So yeah, it's just the fact that he has not recovered. It seems like he hasn't recovered fully. I don't love that. So I would not expect that guy to be. I definitely don't expect him to start.
And I thinking about offensive linemen too. One of the things that always kind of blows my mind about them, and this was something that you would see sometimes, like when it would be on Hard Knocks or something like that in the late summer, but offensive linemen always talking about just how much they have to eat to keep the weight on, because these guys are like, these are massive guys, but these are these are great nimble athletes. Like they burn a ton of calories, and so to keep that weight on, you got to go. And so he may have to kind of do like a mini version of that process over the course of the next couple of months to like get back to where he was. Cause it's not necessarily like, oh gosh, I'm just going to go home. Oh, sweet. I get to go home and I can just eat a bunch of Reese's and Snickers all night. No, you're eating like nutrient dense food, and you got to like lift to make sure that you're putting weight on that way as well. And so,
hey man, steak and ice cream. That's what
oh yeah,
high school weight coach used to always say. I mean, that was like the simple version, but also your teenagers, and
yeah, you burn through stuff so quickly. But
and he was a jacked police officer, so I think he knew what he was talking about.
Probably. And then of course on the Alabama side, so it all looks exactly the same except the two guys who were questionable, and those guys were both tight ends, Josh Cuevas and Danny Lewis. They were questionable yesterday. They are now both probable on the list. And the most notable name, though, on the Alabama injury report is their best interior defensive lineman, LT Overton. He is out. He will not play in this game. He did play in the first game. And so I don't know. It's kind of it's a coin flip between him and Yanze Pierre even though I guess Yanze Pierre you could say is like a jack outside linebacker.
Yeah, he's not really a lineman.
But hand in your dirt defensive lineman, Alabama's best will not be playing in this game, which cool.
Yeah, typically they'll use on the other end of that. I mean, you got R. Mason Thomas seemingly back and healthy to go, and then looks like Alabama's missing one of their better interior guys. They got another guy that's pretty good too. I don't know. I mean, Overton going into that OU game, like he was. It's like him and another guy, and it's probably on our rundown.
James Smith is the other.
Yes. How can I forget about James Smith?
I mean, it is James Smith, but yes, it's a very generic name. I have a hot Javonte Barnes take for the game.
Okay.
Because that was always like everyone was always just like, gosh, is this guy really injured, or is he just taking a red shirt so he can enter the transfer portal so he can actually play one final year? And I mean, I would say it's probably a little of both. Probably a little bit of both. But now that it's the playoffs,
what are you talking about? Javonte Barnes is always super healthy. He's never missed time due to injury.
Literally
do you think it's both?
Never. He definitely didn't have his best game of his career and then was never seen of again the rest of the season. That didn't happen last year at all. Here's my hot take for Javonte Barnes. No, I don't. I do not want to see him featured in the run game at all. You hand the ball off to Javonte Barnes, it's a wasted play. I think this has been the position of the West of Everest podcast for about 3 seasons now. You hand him the ball, it's a wasted play.
Except in very specific circumstances. But yeah, for the most part, that's been the case.
Very, very specific circumstances. But What is one thing that Javonte Barnes is really, really good at?
Picking up at least 1 to 2 yards, falling forward.
Well, I was gonna say he's a good blocker. He's a good blocker, and
Oh,
he's kind of a headhunter.
yeah.
Kind of a head. Like he goes in, like he physically punishes guys who are in front of him. Now, I'm not saying like because you can only get away with that so often. It's like, oh, Javonte Barnes is out there, they're throwing the ball. But Lee, that little pop pass, little jet sweep pop pass, they really like to run. Haven't really seen that work with any sort of regularity since Javonte Barnes was in there being the lead blocker on that. So maybe they throw him out there to run something like that. Here's another thing. Here's another hot take. They have Isaiah Satania and Deion Burks, who theoretically should be pretty good with the ball in his hands in space, right? And until we actually saw them run it a lot and fail doing so, going into the Tennessee game, I was just like, please run bubble screens. Please throw bubble screens out there. Now, they can't run those because they're asking either Deion Burks or Isaiah Satania to hold blocks at the point of attack there, which is a terrible idea. They should not ask them to do that. What if you have Javonte Barnes there as the running back, you go empty, and it's him and Giovanni Gibson at the point of attack, and you throw it to Isaiah Satania? Now, that would probably only work once or twice. But I don't know, if you can get like 4 or 5 nice little productive plays out of Javonte Barnes, why not?
Okay, I like the specifics. So I have.
I really like bubble screens, and I really like those, just like get it out to the edge and just let guys do stuff in space. And the fact that OU's been so bad at blocking it this year is a joke. I mean, just get better, be better at it. But also, don't ask Deion Burks to hold a block.
Yeah, I like getting the ball out of the quarterback's hand quickly on side to side whenever the defensive backs are given a lot of space, which Georgia took advantage of that against Alabama a decent amount. And they did a lot of like wide receiver end arounds a decent amount against Alabama. So we'll see if any of that stuff works. So my Javonte Barnes thing, it helps the depth. You would think if they actually are going to play him, should be very fresh. I think he's probably been healthy for a while. But the question is, I mean, do they trust him to play snaps? Do they trust him to actually touch the football? I mean, he hadn't played a game since September. It's been a long time.
I mean, Jade Knott played like 3 or 4 snaps against LSU.
True, but so then be more precise. Would they trust Barnes to touch the ball? Which he didn't touch the ball very much at all. So the best case scenario you have for him, and it's been a long time since this game, but think back, the Michigan game. He was actually really good in the Michigan game. That's the best case scenario, man. He made the most out of his 7 touches in that game. And I went back, I looked at my notes. He picked up at least 3 first downs. He had that really nice catch on a third down on a little blitz beater. And there was also a play where he had a nice little key block. I think that might have led to a touchdown. So he was terrific in that game in a very small role, but he made all of his snaps for the most part count. And so that's the best case scenario for Javonte Barnes at this rate. I mean, he even had like a 10-yard run. I remember that game. It was like, whoa, 10 yards, first down run? No. Don't see that a lot.
Do you make anything out of people who were at practice on Monday were saying that Jade Knott was leading the running back group in the drills?
They've been waiting. Talk about a fresh guy. I mean,
imagine
it's running back. It's one of the most simple positions on the field. You literally, here's the ball, run with it, go, and yet, just disaster.
What's more likely? What's more likely? Jade Knott gets 10 snaps on Friday, or he makes an NFL team as an undrafted free agent out of camp and runs for over 500 yards next year in the NFL as a rookie.
I'd say the second one's probably like a minus 500 favorite.
You think so?
I don't think he gets 10, especially with Barnes theoretically available now. Like the depth is better.
I just threw a number out there. I don't know, but I was thinking that like how hilarious would it be? It's because everybody's out on Jade Knott, and like when he's been out there, just like the body language has been terrible. Like it looks like he doesn't care. What if he goes to the NFL and is something? Would it just like rehash everything again? Just like would we just do a 180?
Well, it would make sense for him just to transfer to a different college team and then do a bunch of stuff because then that would just add to the DeMarco Murray resume of,
I think he's out. I think he's played in over 4 games.
well,
So
he
he's
has no more
done. He's
eligibility left, huh? Are you sure? He's a
I
senior
do
this
not
year?
believe so.
Because he had
He's a
like, oh
senior.
yeah, the freshman year he was pretty good. And then the second year he was his best year. Then yeah, okay, you're right. Then the last year he was injured, unless he can get some apply for. No, he played a lot last year
Yeah,
despite the injury.
still played in like 9 or 10 games last year. Yeah,
Yeah.
he didn't miss a ton of
Wow.
time. So
What a
um
what a rough ending to his college career.
yeah, super weird. But yeah, I don't expect either of those things to happen. But I think as long as Jade Nod is still breathing and on campus, there's gonna be like that, just like what if he is a running back after all? I mean, like,
Well, we haven't even talked about the two running backs that will likely play, and I mean Xavier Robinson and Torrey Blaylock. And
are you talking about the corpses of Xavier Robinson and Torrey
well, we'll
Blaylock?
see. We'll see. How healthy are they? Can they? I mean, this time off. I mean, those guys certainly needed the 30-day break between games. Like, by the way, I went back and looked. It was 32 days between back in '08 between OU's Big 12 title win over Missouri and the Florida. It was December 6th and then January 8th. So that's yeah. Yeah. So yeah, well, very curious to see how potentially fresh Robinson and Blaylock. I think Blaylock probably needed it more than Xavier Robinson. I mean, that guy seems like he's been just a walking wounded since after the South Carolina game.
And it's his shoulder. And I guess, like I've never played running back. I guess I don't know how much of an injured shoulder is going to affect you. Like, and I'm sure like running through trash and stuff like that, it would definitely affect it. Like I'm not gonna, but yeah, you would hope that the time off would do him well. Xavier Robinson, I mean, if it's a knee, that's he ain't gonna be anywhere close to 100% until he's able to rest for 3 or 4 months, presumably. So, like, I don't know. I hope he comes out, and I hope he's fresh, and I hope he looks good. That because but I was about to say because fully healthy Xavier Robinson's a really good back, but he's not fully healthy. I mean, they saw him. Everyone who saw him at practice, he still got that big old knee brace on. So we'll see. I do think it's going to be another. Here's one thing though: is John Mateer's knee better? Does that really help with it? Because I still maintain, go watch the Michigan game. He's got a different level of juice with like his cuts and everything in that game, that we haven't necessarily seen up to this point. So, and I don't. I mean, I think we all expect him to be a very large part of the running game on Friday. He's going to get a lot of carries, presumably. So, because he didn't really carry it a ton against Alabama the first time. Like it wasn't an obscene amount.
Yeah, I just think you're kind of holding on to. I don't know. I think he is what he is. I don't think Mateer's. I don't know. I don't know. Put it this way. I don't think his hand. I don't think his lower. I think he's fine. If I had to guess, I'd say. I mean, well, he's given all the wear and tear you have of playing quarterback. Obviously, that'll. I mean, everyone's got that. Heck, geez, why can't I help me with Simpson, the Alabama quarterback? He's been beat up the last few. I mean, he really needed a couple weeks off. I mean, he got beat up against Georgia. He got hit a little bit against Auburn.
And I
So
don't
I mean,
know.
that guy's
I don't
kind of
know
beat
how
up too.
much stock to put into this, but like the smoke is that he's got like a back issue right now, and he's not on the injury report, so he's gonna play. But there's to the point where there's like a lot of smoke. I mean, like
Hmm.
it's gone to like the national sources. People are kind of talking about, like, yeah, it kind of sounds like he's a little banged up. And the super super specific thing that I've read that I've seen is a slipped disc, which is essentially like a same thing as like a pinched nerve. Like I've had one of those. That's super
Mm.
painful. It's super painful. And mine didn't really start to get noticeably better until I got a steroid injection. And is he allowed to get a steroid injection? I don't think he would be able to, because that's steroids.
I mean, it's college. I mean, it's football. They're going to have any sort of pain thing they can give them for anything. I mean,
Sure, but but that, and it's not even that. It would also depend, like, if let's say for the sake of argument he does have a slip disc or like a pinched nerve or something like that, super painful. Not only is it painful, but you feel it in your fingers too when that happens. Especially if it's in like kind of the right spot like that.
sure,
And so
sure.
I've had, it's been about 18 months since mine, and I still have a little bit of numbness in my right pointer finger from it. And I've looked it up, and and like everything that I read says, yeah, it's pretty normal. And it says, like, everything I've read that says eventually your feeling will come back, or it might not. Otherwise, not that big of a deal.
Ooh. So, all right. So we've talked about the game around the edges. I mean, you laid it all out at the beginning of the show. If you're not predicting some sort of tight, low scoring game, I mean, you're just kind of throwing something against the wall, unless you're a big film guy or something and you've really dove in, and which I have not. I mean, I love film. I don't have the time to do that anymore. And maybe you found something that you like and there's a reason, and fine, okay, maybe you can make an argument. But what I'm getting at is, do you want to just hit on? I know we always do what we want to see, all that stuff. I have a list of things I'm concerned about and some positives going into the game. I don't know how you want to go. Do you want to do what do you want to see? What's going to happen? All that stuff, or do you want to go
I can
different
just
route?
kind of let it happen organically. I put something here in the rundown of um, some numbers that I thought were interesting, and it's essentially this idea. So if you take away, in the games that Alabama has played since they played OU, take away their game against Eastern Illinois, because we shouldn't count that. The two games that they have played against power opponents since they played OU, that's games at Auburn and in the SEC title game against Georgia. Against Auburn, they had a 34% success rate, which is 11% under their season average, and they averaged only 3.84 yards per play. And then a week later against Georgia in the SEC title game, they were at a 29% success rate, 15% under their season average, at 3.8 yards per play. And if you're asking, well, what about in OU's two games that they've played since the Alabama game? Against Missouri, success rate's not good. 29% success rate against Missouri, but 4.45 yards per play. Their successful plays were relatively explosive. And then against LSU is a 30% success rate, also not good. But OU damn near averaged almost 6 yards per play in that game. And so and we were there. When they were actually moving the ball down the field, it was usually in pretty explosive chunks. So,
Throw a freaking parade. Oh, you get to 6 yards per play, man. That's
whereas, so
we're there.
the difference there is that, yeah, no, I'm very comfortable saying if OU is at 6 yards per play in this game, they are going to win this football game. Alabama hasn't been efficient, nor have they been explosive. They haven't been able to do either of those things against Auburn and Georgia. Two really good defenses, two top 10 defenses that are not as good as Oklahoma's. And so, and I wish I would have done this. I didn't have enough time today, but I wish I would have gone back and looked at what Alabama's numbers were in the second half against OU. Because then I think that would give you a better picture of kind of, because it kind of felt like after that first drive of the second half, OU totally figured Alabama out. I'm not even sure Alabama even crossed midfield after that first touchdown drive in the second half. So I think that's kind of one of the storylines going into this game. For as much as I'm like, this is a really good spot for Alabama, there is a chance. I wouldn't bank on this and I wouldn't count on it, but there's a chance that Alabama is just spent and that they've been figured out and the book is out on them. And if they play anyone with a pulse, they're just not going to win.
There's a chance, and just if you'd like, I can read you off some numbers. You can do the math as I talk if you want. So, do you want all drives in the second half, or do you want just drives after that touchdown drive from Alabama in the second half?
Drives just after the touchdown drive, because that touchdown drive was good. But
all right, start making notes. They only had four series after that touchdown drive. So Oklahoma was able to hold them to only 4 more possessions. So here's one: 3 for 7, so a 3 and out. 3 plays, 7 yards. They punted. 5 plays, 10 yards. This was the sack fumble. 3 plays, 2 yards, another punt. And then the final drive for Bama was 13 plays, 42 yards, and we all remember how that ended, on down. So you want to do the math on that, and you figure out some of those numbers. I don't have like sacks and TFLs and stuff, but at least you can get like a yardage.
That's definitely under 3 yards per play. A success rate, I don't know. It's hard to look at, but that's a success rate probably under 20%.
Oh, okay. I'll say figure it out, because I can talk about something else. But so you were So I'll just piggyback off of I'll keep it positive. So I do think that's definitely a positive. So Alabama's, and one of the biggest positives I was going to use, and I'll just use it now. I think, and this is a big reason why in hindsight, I feel dumb for sticking with Alabama in the SEC title game against Georgia. I even mentioned it on the show. Even though I picked Bama, I second guessed myself, and that's because Alabama's trajectory at the time is just down. I mean, they're going in 2 different directions. Georgia's been going up, Bama's been going down, and it continued in that game. And so it's another game. And granted, there's been some time off, so Alabama can lick its wounds, get better. They're going to be more, obviously incredibly motivated. So is OU. Everybody is. It's the playoff. But still though, given that, Oklahoma's been on the ascent, just like Georgia has been, while Alabama's been going down. So that feeds into your offensive discussion, and that's why, because Alabama's offense has been poor, and you're looking at yardage. But look at Ty Simpson. You mentioned his potential injury, his rumors of a potential injury or not. Since OU, unfortunately, he played minus the pick. He played pretty well against OU, but he did miss some throws. And but against, we'll take away the FCS bye week game, where whatever. But he threw 2 picks in that game, by the way. I didn't watch any of that game, but he threw 2 interceptions in that game. I don't know if they were bad picks or tip balls or whatever, but he threw 2 picks in that game, no touchdowns. I'm sure I guess maybe they ran it finally in that game, because he only had 147 yards passing against, was it Eastern Illinois? And Alabama won 56-0. So they scored some points. So they must have ran the ball a lot in that game to make their numbers look better. But in those 2 games you mentioned, Auburn and Georgia, Simpson's been bad. 19-35. They have 3 touchdowns against Auburn, but only 122 yards passing, 54% completion percentage, and then under 50% against Georgia, against a really good Georgia team. 1 touchdown, 1 pick. So that trajectory for Simpson has been bad. And as Simpson goes, Alabama goes. And their defense has been good. Their offense just has not been helping them out. And so if that's the Ty Simpson we get and he continues to play that way, one of my concerns of this game, and I'll just kind of go back and forth, is game 1, Alabama's offense throwing the ball was pretty good. Oklahoma's secondary did not play. They played okay, but they could have been better. They gave up a lot of yards to Ty Simpson. And so even though Oklahoma's secondary has been excellent of late, that's one of my concerns, is that time off, Alabama healing up, watching the film back, they can find some holes. You and I, we were talking before the podcast about how we watched that all 22 YouTube guy. That's apparently a thing whatever. At least he's got all 22s. We can watch it. Like we don't get access. And there was at least one play. There was a play where Gentry Williams was, there's a lot of man. There's a lot of man, and he got beat, and Simpson didn't look his way. Didn't look to the receiver that was going deep. So I just seeing stuff like that, and my concern is that
Williams did not play.
I'm sorry.
Game. I think you mean Cortland Guillory.
I do. Thank you. That was one of those situations where you say something and you don't even catch it. That you talk so much, and you're listening on the podcast, like, how did you not notice you said Gentry Williams? I don't know. That's why Grant's here to keep me going. You're right. I meant Cortland Guillory. And so my concern, there was a play where Ryan Williams just beat him off the line and was gone, but Ty Simpson didn't look his way, is that Alabama recognizes a lot of that, and they take advantage of the the situations where Brent asks his guys to play a lot of man, and they ask Jeremy Bernard and or Ryan Williams just to, hey, go win, and that'll be it. And it's sometimes you can't beat that, as well as Guillory's been playing, as well as Eli Bowen's been playing. So that's one of my concerns, is that they can figure this stuff out against a secondary for Oklahoma that has been a lot better and has been excellent, but also can be had.
I think that's a concern of mine too, and it's not necessarily like, oh, they're gonna figure this out against OU's defense. The concern is more of, hey, this is like a really close game. We just need to make a play. And I hate that Ryan Williams has been like asleep for the last 2 months. Cause like I've heard people talk. I Jeremy Bernard's had a good season. Jeremy Bernard's a really good player. Like I don't, but Ryan Williams is the best wide receiver in this game. He's the most talented player in this game, argue. And so like one of my concerns is it's like 13-10 in the fourth quarter, and Alabama is just like, hey man, this is our dude, and we're just gonna identify man coverage, and we're just gonna hope that, hey, Eli Bowen, 5'9" guy is on him, and we're just gonna do a go ball, and we're just gonna see what happens. And
Yeah, but Ryan Williams is not that big either. I think Jeremy Bernard is. If I had to pick one of the two, I'd take Bernard. I think he's a better route runner, even though I think the route running thing is dumb. But Williams just kind of seems sloppy. He just kind of seems sloppy. He's very talented, but I think there's a reason why he hasn't popped this
yeah,
season.
there's something going on. There's something going on for sure. But
I mean, he's a good player. He's obviously a good player. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but they're gonna. I mean, they're gonna get Cuevas back probably, and he's a guy that I didn't think much of going into the first game, and he had a good game against OU the first time. I really hope that Oklahoma has a better plan for him this
how
time.
healthy is he? Just because he plays doesn't mean that he's. I mean, Xavier Robinson has played the last 2 games for Oklahoma, and has not been effective or healthy at all. So, we'll see. But yeah, I think a lot of my concerns in this game is, and I'll cop to it. I think a lot of it is like narrative driven. I just like it doesn't. I've really enjoyed the last month that OU has played. It's been fun. They've been 4-0. They've won the games that they're supposed to win, but it's not like they're crushing teams. They're not establishing their will and being like, gosh, we are a lot better than you. That's not what's been going on at all. In fact, one of the reasons why I felt so good going into that game, going into Tuscaloosa, or at least I felt like OU had a really good chance to win, was that Alabama's sort of streak that they had been on was it had kind of a lot of smoke and mirrors. There was like it was, and I don't think OU got lucky in the first game in Tuscaloosa. I think they forced a lot of the stuff, and so but Alabama and like their run up to the game against OU had multiple wins like that, where if you put all of the plays into the computer again and it spits it out and it says you got a 5% chance of winning. Alabama had like 2 or 3 wins like that going into the OU game. OU's only had 1 win like that in this instance, but there's just something about me. It's like OU's been hot. They've been a hot team. They've found a way to win, and now they're not playing for 3 weeks. Whereas you have an Alabama team who has ridden like a wave throughout this year. I mean, it's been like a bull ride for them. I mean, a terrible game in the first game, and then they win 8 in a row. A lot of them are kind of lucky-ish wins in terms of like the game script that they just found a way to win. They made winning plays like in a handful of 3 or 4 plays. And then they've hit a snag here where they've kind of had some bad luck at times. They weren't unlucky against Georgia. They got their butts kicked against Georgia. But I don't know, and then you give them a couple of weeks off, and maybe they're able to sort of lick their wounds a little bit and get back and I don't think it's been as aggressive of people being like, gosh, they don't deserve to be there. They don't deserve to be there. But it's not like everybody is like singing Alabama's praises. Like, this is Alabama. Like, nobody thinks, even if they're picking Alabama to go into Norman and win, everybody is following up with that with a, well, but Indiana's going to smoke them. And I don't know. I don't like it's for as much as Brent Venables has proven me and you wrong, both of us wrong over the last month of the season, and going on this run and getting to the college football playoff, I don't know. Brent Venables against a wounded animal and a gotta have it situation does not fill me with a lot of confidence.
But what if I told you that Wounded Animal is a team that and a coach that Brent Venables has beaten twice in the last year?
Maybe, yeah. I'm gonna cop to it. It's all vibes. I don't feel good about this game. I have a bad feeling about this game. I'm getting aggressive Texas vibes from this game, like aggressive Texas vibes.
Well, it
And
isn't Texas though, and it's not the Cotton Bowl. So that's a huge caveat. Because
that is a
clearly
huge
there's some
caveat.
sort of
That's a huge caveat
weird,
because, like, that was part of the reason why I felt bad about the Texas game is that Texas, like I said, has not played poorly in the Cotton Bowl in 15 years. And Alabama is like Alabama kind of has a historically sort of has an Oklahoma problem, but there's just something weird with, like, I don't know, the line has been screwy in this game with how it opened. Like, I think, back in October, I think some people were surprised that Texas opened as a favorite against OU, and a lot of that had to do with, like, Mateer's injury and everything. But then OU was favored at kick, and I looked now. Like this morning, Alabama was a 1.5 point favorite on ESPN. OU is now a 1.5 point favorite. So on ESPN, it shifted 3 points today. Does that mean sharp money is coming in on OU? I don't know.
I don't know, man. It's going back and forth, back and forth. Who knows?
I just don't feel great about it. Don't feel great about it. And it'd be one thing if OU was coming into this game with a top 10 offense. Well, I mean, for one thing, if OU had a top 10 offense, they'd be sitting at home right now because they'd have a bye because they would be the SEC champions. But I can't necessarily intellectualize what I feel at this point. All I know is that I feel like OU's got a big old problem on their hands on Friday night.
Well, let me go through some more concerns, but I also have some positives, things that just I've been thinking about in the last 5 to 10 days or so. Another concern I have, I talked about how can Alabama find something on film and exploit Oklahoma's secondary again and have more success, and maybe Simpson doesn't throw as many picks. But Alabama, I'm also concerned about Alabama once again controlling the time of possession. The last game, it was 34-30 to 25-30. Alabama had the ball for a long time. The 3 takeaways and the defensive touchdown, not to mention Isaiah Sategna's very early explosive punt return. All of that allowed Oklahoma to overcome not having the football for very long in that game. It's a game script thing. If Alabama controls the football again for a long time, like last time, it's hard for me to see Oklahoma winning the football game. And unless they're able to do the same thing, force a bunch of extra turnovers. So that concerns me because Alabama, that's what they want to do. Granted, they could not do it at all against Georgia. They couldn't hold the ball at all. Another thing, we haven't even talked about John Mateer really, and I mean him making mistakes. I mean, we saw him make mistakes against LSU the last time out, and against Alabama, going back and rewatching the game, at least twice, he should have had at least 2 interceptions, and one of which we talked about it on the post-game pod, and I remember showing it, a play that was luckily dropped that would have been a pick six that Mateer just threw it right to the guy, and it was almost kind of like I can't remember, like there was a play where Oklahoma might have gotten a break, or no, Alabama might have gotten a break, but then it's like, well, you got a break there by a drop pick that could have been pick six. And then there was another, as I was watching the All-22 back today, there was another play where an RPO that he totally read wrong, and if not for the ball getting batted down at the line of scrimmage, would have been going right to a linebacker who was right there in the passing lane. And Mateer was staring right at him. And so that could have been 2 easy picks that could have totally changed the game, and Oklahoma could have lost. And so that's another concern, is that he just, as much as he'll make a random cool play, there's still that opportunity, that chance, of him just totally tanking it and taking Oklahoma out of it. So that's obviously a concern, man. Mateer just not seeing it, which is frustrating. What are your thoughts on John Mateer going in this game?
I think I'd like to hold on to I thought their downfield passing game against LSU was the best that we've seen it since September. And I hope that they can build on that. But I don't know. We'll see. He is, at this point, he is who he is. He's had, I think, a pretty disappointing season. But also at the same time, I don't think he's been like terrible this year. I think people said that if OU, I think this is what slightly above average quarterback play looks like in college football. And I think that's what he's been this year. I think he's been slightly above average.
So you're saying that all those awesome Iowa defenses over the years would have just killed to have a quarterback like John Mateer spinning it like him?
Yeah, that's the funny, OU's offense not really any good at all, but it's a lot better than those Iowa offenses. Like those Iowa offenses were I think OU is like 52nd SP plus offense right now. Like I think it was the 2022 Iowa was like the full on like Iowa experience. Their offense was like in the 130s. Like it was like as bad as like the worst MAC teams.
It's just
Like it
whatever the
wasn't.
year is that Brian Ferentz got fired, whatever that season was, whether it was 22 or 23. That was
Yeah.
where it was just an absolute disaster.
I think it was 20. I think that was 23 because last year was because last year they had Caleb Johnson and they made quite a pretty big improvement relatively speaking. And then this year I think they were a little bit better as well too. But so
Well, speaking of Mateer, and you hit on one of my positives of like, hey, looking for. I mean, this is a positive, good thing is his LSU downfield passing. I mean, hitting the big plays, explosive plays, throwing for over 300 yards against a really good secondary. That being the last game, despite two really bad picks, the third one tipped, not good either. At least he hit on some big play. Granted, his two biggest plays were pretty easy. I mean, one was a screen pass and the other one was a guy wide open down the field. But he did hit on like Giovanni Gibson, Satania on some routes over the middle of the field, on the edges, up the seam. So he did make some throws. And so it is nice to know that he did hit some of those passes. So that is one positive that hopefully there's something there that can continue on against Alabama. Let's see. Also, talked about Ty Simpson's poor play, talked about Bama's trajectory. Other positives, this is an obvious, easy one. Oklahoma's at home. Much rather OU be at home in this game. I know they played well on the road, but for this game, yeah, you want them at home. That's great. More concerns. Did Mateer. A couple of my other concerns are kind of more like kitschy and kind of like fun that maybe I'll say for the very end. My last, this is kind of an obvious one, but it's worth mentioning. I mean, another positive where I'm happy about this that Alabama does not necessarily have, and maybe Miami has a kind of version of this, but I talked about it at the very beginning of the show. Oklahoma, their success of playing in quote unquote playoff games. I mean, this will be the fifth one they've played in, essentially must win games. And so there is something to, I think, learning and knowing how to win. It's a generic football sports thing, but I do think that is a thing that it's a confidence thing. And it obviously helps that Oklahoma's defense is very, very good. So I think that's another positive that, hey, they're winning these games, even though maybe they shouldn't, and they're finding ways. And that does count for something, I think.
yeah, Alabama could have said the same thing earlier this season, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing until it's not, until you get knocked off. One more thing that came up that you brought up and I wanted to hit on and I forgot in the long layoff, and we used to complain about those long layoffs for a lot of reasons. Yeah, gotta wait all this time for a game. But one of my big bugaboos of the long layoff was always it impacted the offensive teams more than the defensive teams because you get in a rhythm, then all of a sudden you're not playing anymore. And Oklahoma was always an offensive team. And now they're a defensive team. So the long layoff, it's nice to go into this game, and this is a general point, into a playoff game for OU. Honestly, for the first time, I guess maybe since early Bob Stoops days where the defense was really good, not thinking in my head like, man, I'm so mad that they've had 3 weeks off. The offense was just humming, and now they're going to have to figure out to get back in a rhythm after not playing real competition. Because I think it doesn't impact defense as much. I think defense can come out. I mean, maybe I'm just saying that because it seemed like Oklahoma was always impacted. The opposing defense has always played, exception of Georgia. Oklahoma's offense came out and ripped Georgia.
Yeah, that offense had an extraordinarily large amount of dudes, though, more than any
So did
offense
that.
they've
So
really
did the
had.
Georgia defense, though.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. We saw it. We've already seen that rear its ugly head in this playoff format. The number one team in college football last year got their doors blown off after being off for a month, and
It
I
didn't help that they played Ohio State, but
and
yeah.
Ohio State, who was clearly the best team in college football all year, but Oregon, they made Oregon look bad. Oregon wasn't that bad. Like Oregon's has a lot of dudes on that offense too, and they couldn't do anything. And so, um, we'll see. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that I kind of looking for it. I know I've been sort of a negative Nancy during all of this thing, but I do think it's just an exceptionally cool thing that they're gonna play a home playoff game on a Friday night where they have the entire night to themselves, and they get to play for a chance to go play in the Rose Bowl, which it's the best sporting event on planet Earth, and it's I think that's a really cool thing. If you would have told me before the season started that's what it was going to come down to, that they were going to have a home playoff game for a chance to play in the Rose Bowl, and honestly, playing a Rose Bowl against Indiana and not Ohio State or Oregon, I would have been like panting like a dog, not like a Georgia Bulldog, because I'd be barking like a clown, but um so I think that's really, really cool. And I would say that in terms of stakes for this game, that sort of raises the bar for me. I would much prefer I'd much prefer if they were playing Miami. I think Miami is right now is almost certainly better than Alabama, but I that Miami, that would be a lot more fun. So, um, we'll see. I'm glad that OU is at home. I'm glad that they have a great defense. I'm glad that great defense is getting their best player back. In what capacity, we're not exactly sure yet, but I'm happy to see that again. And hey, maybe there's something too. Like Jaden Jackson has also had 3 weeks to
Oh yeah.
rest, and he's a guy I think it was on. I was listening to the Keyhole podcast today, and I think it was Allen who went through and read off his snap counts over the last 3 games. He hasn't played more than 20 snaps in any game in November. So like he really hasn't been playing a whole lot at all. So what if he's back and is feeling a whole lot better? Like that's a big deal. Like because in a weird sort of way, like Alabama couldn't really run the ball against OU the first time, but in all of their games against power teams in November, they ran the ball the best against OU. And Jane Jackson didn't really play in that game. So that's a good thing. And hey,
All right.
it's gonna be it's gonna be a battle. It's gonna be the one, like I guess going back to things that I'm concerned of, like I do think watching that game in Tuscaloosa over a month ago, I really felt like Alabama was not necessarily ready for what Oklahoma brought to them, which was like we're actually a more physical team than you are, and we're gonna punch you in the mouth. I think that kind of and obviously they only lost by 2. Alabama didn't fold. But like I think there was part of it they kind of got smacked a little bit, and they were like, "Whoa, we didn't necessarily see that coming." I think they're going to be prepared for that this time, and it's the one thing that sort of concerns me, because in November, that has been OU's ace in the hole, just being the more violent, physical team.
So I have a couple other positives and concerns, and then we can kind of give our final thoughts and then move on to the next thing. So I'm going to pour some cold water on really maybe some listeners of the show that won't like this, but this is a concern of mine, and this is a vibes thing. This is a just a general, and I've texted this to you guys in our group text, but what if Friday night is going to be a bad night for Oklahoma, and that's because it's going to be a some karmic payback for OU fans embarrassingly storming the field last year after beating Alabama in a bad season, which was just dumb. And I was at the game, saw people do it, and I couldn't believe it. And honestly, when I saw that, I was like, this is embarrassing. What if it's now back on Oklahoma's home field in a playoff scenario? Alabama goes ahead and just, all right, you guys want to go and win a game out on your home field? Doesn't matter. I mean, they made a bowl. Oklahoma got bowl eligible. What if that's a concern of mine? The college football gods smiling upon Alabama because Oklahoma, the fan base, for some reason decided to storm the field last year in that game, which I thought was ridiculous. So that's one of my concerns. On a more actually, my other last concern is kind of a jokey one too that you've actually referenced, but I'll remind you of it. My last positive will actually be we'll turn this thing around, make this more fun. And I looked up. I don't know. Maybe there's been some stories written about this. I don't know. But how about Brent Venables in rematches? And I'll cite X Grok. I used it, and I asked specifically for when Venables was at OU and Clemson before as a DC, so not at OU so far. And it turns out, and again, haven't had time to fact check if there's more games because it could only come out with in-season rematches, as in Oklahoma or Clemson played a team in the regular season, and then later in that season, probably either in a conference championship game or a bowl game, played that same team again. It spit out. It only happened 4 times for Venables at OU or Clemson. 3 at OU, only 1 time at Clemson. And all 4 times, the second game went better than the first game. And those 4 times were, when we talked about this before, 2000, Kansas State. You all remember that if you're old enough. The game in Manhattan, the regular season, and then OU played Kansas State again in the Big 12 title game. The biggest stat, big takeaway, in the first matchup in Manhattan, K-State averaged 5.1 yards per play, which still pretty good for Oklahoma's defense. But in Kansas City in the Big 12 title game, K-State only averaged 3.6 yards per play, so big improvement. 2002, Colorado, both games, Oklahoma was pretty much dominant, but game 2 was even better. Oklahoma only allowed 193 total yards and 4.1 yards per play against Colorado in the Big 12 title. 2007, Missouri. So the first game, and by the way, Oklahoma won both of those games against K-State, won both of the games against Colorado. 07 against Missouri, Oklahoma won both games against Missouri. Game 2, honestly, both games are about the same. Missouri, the same amount of yards in each game, 317. Yards per play, 4.5 versus 4.7, pretty close. The biggest difference, the most important difference, total points scored by Missouri, 31 in game 1, only 17 in game 2. And then finally, the one time, you got something to add there?
Oh, I just wanted to throw on there, holding the best Missouri team in program history to under 320 yards and under 5 yards per play in both meetings is outstanding. And that's 2007 OU was awesome. That was a great team that just was honestly pretty unlucky.
So to recap, that's 3 times at OU. Both times Oklahoma won the first game and the rematch, and the defense played better every single rematch. And the only time, according to Grok, and I did this before the podcast, so maybe Grok missed a time at Clemson, but surprisingly, only 1 time at Clemson, and it was in 2020, the fake 2020 COVID season, and it wasn't even an ACC team. Clemson played Notre Dame twice, and that was the year where Notre Dame was in the ACC for all intents and purposes, so they played in the ACC title game against Clemson, and in the first game, Clemson lost, and Notre Dame scored 47 points, and that wasn't even an early season game, Grant. That was a game on November 7th. Clemson, 519 yards, 6.1 yards per play. And Notre Dame against Clemson's defense. Notre Dame scored 47 points. Was that it? Okay, that was DJU for Clemson, I think. and he actually played really well
Trevor
in that
Lawrence
Notre.
was Trevor Lawrence was hurt.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, yeah.
but
Okay, I
yes,
remember this
DJU
game.
started in South Bend and played like
And did
probably the best game of his career.
oh, and didn't Notre Dame's fans storm the field even though it was COVID? I think I remember. Okay, I'll have to go back.
I don't remember that.
Maybe that was a different year. So, and then later in the ACC title game, they rematched, and Notre Dame only scored 10 points. So game 1, 47. Game 2, only 10. Game 1, Notre Dame, 519 total yards. Game 2, 263. So under 300 yards of total offense. The first game, Notre Dame averaged 6.1 yards per play. And game 2, Venables' defense held Notre Dame to 4.5 yards per play. 6 sacks, 8 TFLs, they 1 forced turnover, and of course Clemson won. So that's 4. And again, as a defensive coordinator, that's 4 times. That's 4 rematches in the same season, and the defense played better each time. So will that trend continue? And I believe this is the first. Yeah, it's got to be the first rematch Venables has had as an Oklahoma head coach, right?
Yes,
They played. It's got to be.
It's odd, and this is off because there's been like a lot of the talk this week about how team hasn't beaten Alabama twice in the same season since like 1890 or something like that, and kind of like, all right, let's like, how many opportunities have there actually been? Like, rematches didn't even really start being played, and till the turn of the century. So like,
hey, actually, I got some numbers on that too. I put Grok to work today. And I'm not a big AI guy, but I do like Grok because I pay for the Twitter thing, and it's convenient. And there are some times like I'll go back if I have time. Like I'll fact check. I'll like, oh, okay, let me look that up now, and it's been pretty accurate. So to answer your question, yes, the whole Alabama, they've only lost twice to the same team one time. So I asked like how many times, how many opportunities have they had to do that? And 1893, that's the one where they lost both games to Birmingham Athletic Club. 1895 against Tulane, a win and a loss. So they split. So I'll make it quick. So you asked how many times have they had a chance to play teams twice? According to what Twitter Grok AI came up with, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times Alabama has played the same team twice.
And I would assume probably 5 of those are in the last 20 years.
3, only 3. Actually, well, the last 20, in the last generation. So 99, they played Florida twice and swept Florida.
Assuming
2011
was in the SEC title game.
Correct, yeah. 2011 LSU
split with LSU.
And that was the super exciting BCS. Well, the first game was the really 9-6.
Is the BCS game that killed the BCS?
And then 2021, Georgia
split with Georgia. So, and then in my head I'm thinking like it's like all that talk, and then I'm like I don't think OU has lost to the same opponent ever twice in a season. I don't think that's ever happened. But not because it's like some sort of like it's just because like for the longest time that wasn't really possible. Like I know they played a rematch against Nebraska in the Orange Bowl in the 70s, a game that they won. Had they lost, they would have lost twice to Nebraska. But like even then, like that was back, you're talking about like 60s, 70s. That was back even when you had a great season, you weren't guaranteed to go to a bowl game. So yeah, that whole like, oh, they haven't lost twice, since 1893 is like that's like sports writer crack, where it's just like, God, that's a great line to throw in there. But then when you start to like add context to it, it becomes way less impressive.
I don't think you're going to make a pick for the game. I think people can see that you're not feeling great about it. I'm also not feeling great about it. I think once the game day gets there, I'm kind of hoping my feelings are similar to whenever we were in Knoxville and like we got there on the ground. And even though I was like, they're probably not going to win, but then the game started getting closer and just for whatever reason, just you feel good. And Oklahoma ends up winning. So here is and this may not apply because Alabama, for lack of a better term, I guess they kind of backed in because they lost the SEC title game. But again, we said it earlier, they should have been locked in. It seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe this is just recency bias. Whenever the committee puts a team in that everybody's like, oh, I can't believe that team got in. That team seems to like either win a game or make a run. And I know that it's new to the 12 teams. That's brand new. But that could be a thing with Alabama, where it's like everyone's like, oh, they shouldn't have made it, and then watch Alabama win. And it's like, well, committee was right. They should have been in, and they beat it. But then they beat Oklahoma, so that's something that worries me. And also, what worries me, and you mentioned this, I think, on a podcast, or no, maybe you did this privately, but another really famous listen to OU podcast is doing a pregame show before the before this game. And when was the last time they did one of these shows?
Yeah, so I wish they had the self-awareness to realize what happened the last time they did that in a super, super important, emotionally driven game. I mean, that's all silly. It doesn't. That
The
is
Texas
not
game,
going to
right?
have a. Yeah, it's a. That's the narrative stuff. But that's where I mean, you're a sports fan. You get it's hard not to see like patterns like that, even if they don't necessarily even exist, and you're just kind of remembering certain things. But I will push back on one thing you said. This whole idea of it, like, oh, when a team people are saying they shouldn't get in, they go on a run. That
Please
is
push
a
back.
that's a cliche in sports. That has not happened in the college. Like, I can think of one instance that's happened in the playoff era, and that was in year one when Ohio State ended up winning the national championship. Last year, I think Indiana was the most controversial team that got in, and they got absolutely housed by Notre Dame in the first round. So,
Well, maybe it's an out. Well, there was what 2020. We talked about this. Like Alabama got in when they shouldn't have got in one year and made a run. I think was that 21 or something.
no, you're thinking of 23 when they got in against. Oh yeah, 21 is when they wait, no, because 21 is when they beat undefeated Georgia in the SEC title game, and both Georgia and Alabama both got in, and they
We
ended up.
talked about it on one of our last shows. There was a scenario where like Ohio State, if they wouldn't have had like an extra, like they probably should have gotten in.
Oh, 2017.
For,
It was 2017.
okay, so 2017 because Alabama ended up making they won a game
Because
against Clemson and then made the.
Alabama got in because that was the instance where Auburn was a 2-loss team that was in the SEC title game, and they were punished for losing the SEC title game. And the team that they had beaten the week before, Alabama, got in over them just because they were sitting at home idle. And that's like one of those things. That's one of those stupid things where it's just like the playoff committee always gave themselves some daylight and some room to breathe by never conceding that the most deserving teams get in, by always leaving that thing in, saying the best teams, because Alabama was obviously one of the 4 best teams, but like they didn't
Yeah, they won it all.
they shouldn't, yeah, and they shouldn't have been in. But like also that's where you can also get into trouble, because like I want to go back and maybe listen to some of those podcasts, because like I was super on the bandwagon of Clemson was not really any good that year, and they ended up getting the 1 seed. They were the 1 seed, and they just got smoked by Alabama in the first round. But because yeah, if they were actually going 4 best teams, Clemson would not have been included in that. But anywho,
Yeah, I don't feel great. But at the same time, that doesn't matter. I mean, I hope Oklahoma wins. This has been a successful season. They can get beat 30-0, and yeah, that
that's
would be super disappointing.
what
But
you just said. What you just said is maybe the chief reason why I do not feel good about this game. Far too many people saying it's been a really good season and this is all just gravy. Way too many people saying that. Like it is, and you hope that none of that creeps into like the people who are actually in charge of playing the game and whatnot.
oh no, that's this
But
yeah.
that's why I
The
wanted
players,
to say, no,
yeah,
you host a playoff game. It's not gravy. You should expect to win that game. And
yeah. I don't think any of the players or coaches are thinking. I mean, they're going in this game. They know they're going to win.
but yeah,
Everyone in Norman, they know they're going to win this game.
it's been a successful season regardless of what happens on Friday, narrative and talk. That's the one thing these past couple weeks is driving me up a wall. I don't want to hear if that's how you feel, keep it to yourself until midnight on Friday.
I mean, but it's true though. And like that's I've been saying it. I mean,
No, you
it's
said you just. I mean, I'll be totally honest with you. They lose 30-0 on Friday. No, 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 no. This is like then we got problems. Like that's a pretty big failure.
I mean, you got problems for the future potentially, but overall the season's still a successful season. I mean, they weren't supposed to be here. I mean, this is a situation where yeah, so I mean like they've exceeded all expectations at this point. Should they win on Saturday or on Friday? Yeah, they should. They should win this football game. They're at home. It's a coin flip game. They have the potentially the best unit on the field. They should win. If they don't win, then
But
we'll
I'm
talk
curious
about it. But
what goes into what's the thought process of even like saying even if they lose, it's been a great season. Like why do people
well,
say
because
that?
people know that the team it's not overall it's not that great of a team because the offense is not as bad as people make it out to be, but it's not a complete team still. It's just not a complete team. I mean, they've and I will give credit. I can't remember who said it on the Sooner Scoop pod, but maybe they all did. When it comes to like Lincoln Riley versus Brent Venables, uh, I still think Venables is a coordinator. He still is. Granted, they're 10-2, they're in the playoff. To Venables' credit, though, that Lincoln did not do. The special teams have been a lot better. Like Venables cares about special teams, and that I mean, so 2 of the 3 phases, Oklahoma has been really good, and yeah, I mean, so at least Venables cares about special teams, whereas Lincoln Riley didn't care at all about that side of that aspect of the game.
Yeah, there's just something about the whole it's been a good season regardless of happens talk that like leads me to believe like, nah, you're not winning another national championship having thoughts like that. That's just not gonna happen. And that's why you hope that people aren't
Are
feeling
people
that
on the
inside
team
those
thinking
walls.
that? I don't think people on the team are saying that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I got the vibe, and he never said this, but I said I got the vibe listening to Venables on Monday that he is just relieved that he saved his job.
Well, if
Like
that's the case, that's a problem because you should be thinking they're going to go in and win that game.
so I that's yeah I and maybe that's it. I'm just like let's talk about how good of a season it was in like when the season is like 3 weeks in the rearview mirror. Not talking about like that just bugs me. It bugs me. Go win the game. Go win the game. You got a chance to go play in the Rose Bowl against the number 1 team in the country that you have more better players than. Yeah, that's a
Well,
huge opportunity.
speaking of narratives, I don't like this whole Indiana narrative of like, oh yeah, I can't so happy it's Indiana. That's sure to come back
No.
and bite somebody in the
If they
butt.
play Indiana, Indiana will absolutely be the best team, the best coach team they've played this year. That like but you think Indiana's got more good football players than Ohio State? You're freaking on crack. You're on drugs.
I don't care about that though, man. Like it's a really good team, man. They're a great team. They're the best team in the league right now. The league, best team in college football.
And they've earned that, and we'll see. But they're gonna die. Really, if we'll see, whatever. But they will really struggle if it gets to that point. They'll really struggle to block Oklahoma. They'll really struggle. Oklahoma will really struggle to block them too, though, probably.
Yeah, probably. All right, what do you want to do, man? We went way longer than we thought. Do we even want
went
to
way
make
long.
picks?
I mean, you just had to read off all your stats. You loved all your stats.
I do.
I don't know. I
We don't.
thought
I
I
mean,
had.
hey, Tate Sandell, good for him. Best kicker in the world.
He is
Awesome. Got to acknowledge him.
Got to acknowledge him. He's the man. Somehow he's not. He's not like a consensus All-American. He's
Is
popping
it
up
him
on
and the Hawaii kicker? Are they just
The Hawaii
trading stuff?
kicker is getting all the first. No, the Hawaii kicker is getting all the first team All-Americans. And you know it is what it is. That's sports writer crap. Like the Hawaii kicker has like a really good story to tell, and so I think that's like a big part of it.
The rundown, your Sherrone Moore thing. I
Oh,
just saw that.
well, I wanted to like
I just saw that.
because like yeah, we're an hour and 40 minutes into this thing, and I wanted to
Yeah,
also wanted to talk about Notre Dame. It's
I know.
because I think that's like, and I know that was college football story fodder for like a week or two, but it is for a reason. It's interesting. It's super interesting, and I guess my nuanced take on everything was that, and this is with everything in the rearview mirror. I think we talked about it 10 minutes after it was announced. But I think the committee did the right thing. It would have been, you cannot set the precedent of eliminating Alabama, a team that was already in the field before they played the SEC title game. You can't punish him for that. And also, I know everyone's been piling on Notre Dame for saying that we're not going to go play in a bowl game and everything. And I want to reiterate, and I want to say Notre Dame looks really bad in that situation. They look petty, they look weak, and they should not have done that. That being said, they had to make a decision right then and there whether or not they were going to go play in the Pop Tarts Bowl. And I can understand I can understand the emotion of thinking going into the weekend that you were in this thing, and then nothing really happens. Nobody, the only thing that's happened is teams in front of you lost, and a team that had been behind you the entire season jumped over you. I can understand in that moment you're bitterly disappointed, and the rep for the Pop Tarts Bowl calls you and says, "Please come and play in the Pop Tarts Bowl." I can understand the emotion of saying, "No, screw that. We're not going to play in a bowl game this season." I wish there was bigger adults in that room who would have said, "I understand the bitter disappointment. I understand that it's hard to swallow your pride in this situation and say, yeah, I'm going to go play in like a kitschy bowl game." But I'm almost certain at this point in time that once these bowl games start to be played and all of these Notre Dame players see other teams playing on TV, they are going to be not happy that they are not playing in that bowl game. And there should have been adults in the room that said, we're going to accept the bowl bid and you're going to get over it. Because then once it's time to play, you're going to want to play. And I think that's probably what's happening to Notre. And like, there's dudes, like, there's seniors on that team who are never going to play football ever again, who thought going into that final weekend that no matter what happened, they were going to at least have one more game that they were going to have to play. And you make an emotional decision and I think it's understandable to be upset and emotional. Notre Dame has every right to be upset with the whole process. Like, they did get screwed. But they got screwed by the process, not the end result. And I don't know. They should have been more forward thinking, and to realize that, hey, after 2 weeks, the disappointment will still be there, but it'll probably subside a little bit, and we're gonna have a lot of people that are gonna want to play a football game. And hey, we just forfeited 15 practices where we could have been getting better for next year. It was a short-sighted decision, and they looked bad doing it.
So if you're affiliated with Notre Dame and you like Notre Dame, and we all saw this, every Notre Dame person was obviously staunchly defending every move that Notre Dame was making, complaining, defending everything. Notre Dame could not do anything wrong. And the biggest, from my perspective, because I don't listen to all the national college stuff, but I do. There's one, if you listen to this show a long time, there's one radio show I do listen to. It's national. I don't know. I've listened to it for years, and Brady Quinn is on there. And Brady Quinn, obviously Notre Dame guy. And so Brady Quinn got real into his, and he would, if he heard me, this podcast, he would totally disagree with me and probably want to fight me. But I think he got really emotional, and he laid out things that he would call facts, but a lot of them were, in my opinion, feelings. And he's a guy that Notre Dame could do no wrong. He understood, he did say, to his credit, like, he understood the head-to-head mattering that needed to matter. But, he got really mad about how the change, kind of the last second, Alabama going ahead of Notre Dame. And that's totally fine. That's my thing, is that the committee definitely put themselves in a bad spot to where they could potentially look to be corrupt. And another big thing that Brady has pointed out that I've been listening to is just ESPN owns this, so therefore it's obvious, like, they make all the calls and stuff like that. And the committee allows arguments like that to have more weight than they should because of the way they ranked it, whereas Alabama should have been ahead of Notre Dame the entire time. Better schedule, better
Yes.
resume.
Miami should have been as well.
And
Miami should have
exactly
always been ahead of Notre Dame.
Thank you. Exactly. So, and my combat to like Notre Dame going in thinking that they were going to be in, my thing is like, you should have never thought that. You should have always been like, nah, the head to head's got to make sense. And you can be mad about the way the committee handled it, but the end result was the correct result. And so I think it's totally fair for Notre Dame people to be mad about the way, again, the committee handled it.
I
But
don't.
ultimately,
There's
they
nothing
got it
that
right.
happened though. There's no reason why that last week that's when Miami jumps them. That actually doesn't make sense at all. It
No, I
only
know.
makes sense.
That's what I'm saying. And it allows people like Brady Quinn to say there's an SEC bias, there's an Alabama bias, ESPN, they own it, blah, blah, blah. And he people can nod and say, yeah, I agree, because of the way the committee handled that, which was dumb. They didn't need to do that. So all of that to be said, there's a I just I don't think like I said, I think Alabama, I think the whole thing was correct. I don't think that ESPN wanted Alabama in more than anybody else. I mean, Notre Dame gets a lot of ratings. Like if they Notre Dame, people watch Notre Dame. So like if so like they could have forced Notre Dame in if they had all this say. So I don't buy into all the conspiracy theories of, yes, I get the ESPN pays for it, but people are going to watch this stuff, that they're going to get all this money. But I will say, Brady Quinn had a tweet. He had a lot of tweets, and um, going back to the part about them not playing the bowl game. One question I had, and I'm with you. And I know Notre Dame put out a statement, but Notre Dame put out a statement pretty quickly, and they made it. They implied that it was a team decision to not play. And so my question is, did they really have time to poll the entire team? And if they did really more players than not say, I don't want to play in a bowl game? Because I just have a really difficult time believing that. And to that point, Brady Quinn and Brady was defending them not playing and talked about how when he played that the Notre Dame team, there was one bowl game they played in that he's like, we shouldn't have played in it. It was like, I think it was said it was either his second to last year where it was like the Sun Bowl or something, or some bowl game that he's like, you know what, in hindsight, we shouldn't have played in it. The guys didn't care about it. And it wasn't a BCS game. And the standard at Notre Dame is that at that time, we only wanted to play in playoff type games that mattered. And like you could win a national title. Whereas like Brady, dude, the BCS national, like the championship game was the one national title. So his argument fell apart with that, anyways. And I would have loved to ask him that. So his whole thing is that Notre Dame only plays in bowl games that are like important, like BCS games or New Year's Six games. And so it's okay to just be like, you know what, we're not making the playoff, we're not going to play. And so he had a tweet that said, Brady Quinn said, and this was on December 7th, bowl games not affiliated with the CFP playoff are destined to become the Pro Bowl. Extinct. Why are we acting like these young men should sign up for an exhibition game that puts them at risk and benefits everyone but them? We don't do that in the NFL, FCS, D2, or D3, but we draw the line with D1 FBS. If teams want to play, play if they don't. The sentence doesn't make sense. Basically, he's saying if teams want to play, let them play. If they don't want to play, why judge them? Unless you have your own selfish motives. And so our guy, my guy, Teddy Lehman on Twitter, I don't follow Teddy on Twitter, but I saw this tweet come across. And Teddy Lehman quote tweeted Brady Quinn's tweet, which you got Brady Quinn played in the NFL. Teddy Lehman obviously played in the NFL. That's 1-to-1. Both great college players. And Teddy responded to that tweet saying, since you are bringing up selfish motives, I doubt that any senior not going to the NFL, which is about 97%, would voluntarily opt out of a bowl game. That is, unless someone else's selfish motives were pressuring them to do so. I thought that was a great tweet by Teddy Lehman. And if, I didn't see Brady Quinn, acknowledge it because it goes back. I mean, Teddy Lehman can speak to it. He played. Like, he knows what a locker room is like and about guys that want to play bowl games or not.
And also, I'm sorry, the bowl games are exhibition games things is just a terrible argument. By that logic, so is 4-6 West Virginia versus 4-6 Arizona. That's also an exhibition game because it means nothing. But people still play in it. Like it's just an extra game. This is all like, do sports matter or do they not? They matter. They do matter.
and that's why I love Teddy mentioning how like a lot of Brady's argument when I listen to it, and I get that you're getting it from me and not from actually him, but it was all like, man, like why would a guy like Jeremiah Love need to play in this game? And he'd always just reference these guys that are going to go to the NFL. Yeah, I know Notre Dame's good, dude, but not everybody on that roster is going to the NFL. Like there's like you made
A
the point
vast
earlier.
majority of them are not.
Yeah, it's a kind of an elitist attitude, in my opinion, to be like, oh, it's all about the NFL. Whereas if I'm a Notre Dame senior and they played Stanford out in California on their last game, and knowing that, all right, well, this is not, we're going to be either in the playoff or at least we're going to get at least one more game, and then you find out, oh, wait, that after the fact, that was my last real football game ever. Like that's it, and you didn't even know about it going in. I mean, in a way, you kind of dodged a bullet because all the emotions and stuff. Because I remember my last football is high school, but I didn't think it was gonna be. I didn't think it would be my last game, but I knew it could be because it was a playoff game. And man, that was hard. But I can't imagine playing in a game and then a week later be like, oh, by the way, that was your last game. I've been like,
It's like, yeah, it's like
really?
18 to 22-year-old guys aren't going to want a free trip to Florida where they get to play against the best team they've played since September? BYU?
I think other people were pointing out when Georgia missed out on the playoff a few years ago, like they went out and they boat raced
Just
Florida State.
smoked them. There you go. That's culture. They wanted to go, and like I don't remember a bunch of opt-outs for Georgia. I remember a bunch of them going being like, we want to smoke these guys.
Florida State had a bunch of opt-outs.
Yeah, they did. So, and hey,
but still,
those,
I mean,
those programs have gone in opposite directions since then. So, yeah, the whole thing is, that's the too long didn't read of it is I understand the emotions that led to the decision that Notre Dame made that I think history will judge as a very knee-jerk, rash decision that makes them look bad.
And just all the pro Notre Dame people, the AD has embarrassed himself coming out and just all the stuff he was saying. And again, like Brady, I think Brady Quinn's a very smart. I listened to his radio show for years, but when it's a show with Brady Quinn, LeVar Arrington, and then like a host, and so it's a very Big Ten, and it's a Fox thing. So of course, it's like SEC, ESPN bias, and I get it, fine. They don't watch as much SEC as they watch Big Ten football and Notre Dame football, and so all I talk about is that. So it was just interesting. In the host that's not affiliated with, like he's friends with those two guys, so he never pushes back. Like he never pushes back, and he's like defending Notre Dame too. It's like, man, this would be such much better radio if one of these people had a take that was opposite. Like LeVar Arrington didn't have any thoughts. Dude's a college football guy. Didn't have any interesting thoughts on the whole thing. Just let Brady. Anyway, this is Lee's rant on a random radio show that he listens to, but. It just could have been so much better radio if there was some sort of conflict, but they just kind of all ball washed Notre Dame, and it was boring, and it was just kind of whiny, and that's why I really wanted to talk about it on this podcast because we haven't talked about it really since.
Mitty got it right. Also, nuke the midweek show, or if you're not going to nuke the midweek show, stop being stupid and rank them correctly. Wasn't that hard? A really, really easy controversy to sidestep and to not have. So it's anyway. Let's see here. Fernando Mendoza won the Heisman Trophy. I think he's really good. I think he is almost certainly going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft. And I think he's probably going to be a really good NFL player. I think he's kind of got the pedigree for it. He's big. He's athletic. He's really smart. He can make all of the throws. He can make all the throws on the run. That being said, I don't think he's been the most outstanding player in college football this year. Although I will caveat that by saying, in terms of like picking out the best player in college football this year, it's been a pretty weak year in that regard. I think whoever won this award this year, I think history would probably judge as probably the weakest winner since Mark Ingram, which was 16 years ago. Fernando Mendoza didn't even throw for 3,000 yards this year. That doesn't mean he's not great. He's really good. I think you put him in the best offensive system in the league or in the country without a defense that is like the maybe the best or second best defense in college football, and you need him to score 50 points a game. He would probably be able to do that. And he'd probably put up a ton of numbers and all of that. If I had a vote, I would have voted for Pavia, and I would have felt pretty meh about it. Like, I'm going to give it to Pavia, but it's only just because there's not really anyone else to vote for. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm not qualified. I don't. I probably watched. I definitely watched more Pavia than I saw Indiana. Like I think Fernando Mendoza is good. There's something I don't know. Like for example, the Penn State game. I mean, he was that last drive. That was more like on his receivers. Like his receivers like really helped him out on that drive, which is great. I mean, he put the ball in the right spot, whatever. Uh, but I'm with you. I thought Pavia had a great season, man. And I mean, Vanderbilt they had a tough schedule as well. And but he in some of his biggest games. I mean, I know the Texas game kind of went down to it, but man, he made some mistakes against Alabama in crucial moments, and that cost him that game. And but that was one game. I think he had a great season. So
But I also
yeah,
think there's nothing wrong. Like, I'm not, Mendoza is not an undeserving winner at all. I think he is. I think I think it had to be him or Pavia. And so when you go with the guy who, is quarterbacking the losingest program in college football history to the number one ranking, and like I think that's still a really good story. And and all that. So the other huge story while we've been gone, Lee, is the Sherrone Moore thing. And I gotta say about this one, this is more of a TMZ story. This is one of the juiciest like college football stories off of the field I think we've seen in a really long time. And I'll caveat everything by saying, yes, it is very sad. There are lives that are ruined here. I mean, his poor family, who he's ruined their lives. Um, and so that's not funny anything. But what a bizarre situation. And I'm not dancing on anyone's grave. I'm not saying, because like again, caveat that lives are ruined. But a story like this is what makes college football the best sport on planet Earth, man. I don't. This doesn't happen in any other sport but this one. And what a fall from grace. And it was even better that, like, after it happened, you had a bunch of people come out who were like national insiders saying, like, yeah, everyone kind of was under the assumption that this job was going to come open at some point in time in this, and like, and they sat on that stuff. Like, how did that? And I know that,
it makes you wonder how many people are just kind of
or it's
saying that
like,
after the fact.
did
And
they just hear like vague, like, oh, they're like, they heard through the grapevine that Michigan
yeah,
was doing some like internal investigations on Sherrone Moore and everything. But it sounds like, from all of the reporting afterwards, it kind of sounds like this was an open secret in the program, that everybody knew about it. Like, all the players knew about it. The um Crazy, absolutely crazy. And people have made this point, and I'll reiterate it because this is a podcast that I do, and I want to put my thoughts out there. And I agree with like sort of the universal consensus on this, is that it is one of the biggest bag fumblings ever in the history of this. I mean, this guy's making $5 million a year right now, and he threw it all away for that. For like, I'm telling you, man, you're the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. You make $5 million a year, and I get that you have a family and you have kids and everything. Like if you're looking for tail that hard, man, there's ways to get it without exposing yourself that much. Like, so it's everything. The it's I mean, it's awful what he did to his family and all this, but he's an idiot. He's an
you know what's
idiot.
weird? Now that we're older, but hopefully there's people that are like he's like my age. It's like I'm looking at this guy. It's like I could have gone to high school with this guy, and like I'm used to being younger. Like oh, I mean these adults and they make these decisions. Like I mean this guy's like my age, and he's already got family with like 3 kids. And my whole thing is, I mean, there's so many thoughts, but my thought is like how did this, knowing it, if that's true that they kind of knew about this stuff, there had to have been some signs before he was promoted to head. How does this guy get promoted to head coach? That kind of mental, like clearly he got something going on upstairs, man. Like, is he that good of
Yeah,
a
it
football
was
coach? I don't
on
know.
I gotta hat tip Alan Kinney on Through the Keyhole. He ended the pod. They were talking about this at the end of their pod this week, and he was like, I don't know, man. I kind of figured that Sherrone Moore had some marbles loose when he cried after the whole at the Penn State game with the reporter at the end when he's just like after Harbaugh had been suspended. Like that was
Mm.
weird. That was weird. And so
I mean, that's if it wasn't for Harbaugh being suspended like that and Sherrone Moore being the
I
interim
don't think
head
he gets it.
coach, I mean, they probably didn't get it, but like they had that. It's like, well, it worked with. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, like, you and I
And
could
it
have
would
coached that team. I mean, they
would
they ran the
surprise
ball
me.
like
Wouldn't surprise me he
yeah.
got hired. I bet Harbaugh had a large hand in him getting that job after he left.
Which, if that's the case, then maybe Harbaugh's is a diabolical dude, and he's like, you know what? They're gonna wish they could get me, even though he can't. He's like, he can't go back to coach, right? Like, doesn't Jim Harbaugh have like one of those show cause dumb NCAA things where
Yeah, I don't
you
know.
can't coach for a while? But like, what if Harbaugh's a diabolical dude? And he's like, ah, man, I know this guy's a mess, but I can't have the next guy be better than me. I don't know. I don't know if Jim Harbaugh would do that, but like, you think he would? I would imagine he hired Sherrone Moore. He should probably know him pretty well. What a mess.
But that's not
Yeah.
a. But yeah, if it was like an open secret, yeah, you gotta. People knew about that. People knew about that, and so that's just. I don't know. Michigan is. They were terrific in 2023, but that is it's the most overrated college football program in the history of the sport. So,
One
um,
last thing about, and just a comment on how news gets out, and maybe it's a college football thing. A frustrating thing about this is that when this happened, everything was out. Like there was nothing really public. But man, a buddy of mine who I used to work with in the news, he's like sending me these tweets and like Instagram stuff and like all these just ridiculous, no credibility accounts of like whatever college football, and it's like some of them even said parody. I'll be damned if like all of it was pretty much accurate. Like of like the girl, and it's like that is wild that like all this behind this all this crap can get out, all this non-credible BS social media stuff, and it actually ends up being true. Like that's a problem, because then people will then assume that all the meme grifter accounts is always accurate, and that's where you get people that believe a lot of stuff that's not true. That can lead to that, which it kind of sucks that college football is that way, where there's not like an Adam Schefter or all these NFL guys are like, if something like this comes out, like boom, somebody's gonna have it, and it's gonna be source it, boom, that's the
you want to
story.
know what my here's my final thought on this, because it being an open secret within the program at Michigan, it reinforces my opinion that administrations at a lot of these schools are not having the same conversations that you and I are having, or that people on like college football podcasts are having. I'm thinking of like the national guys, like even like the Bruce Feldmans and the Stu Man, like those guys, especially at Michigan, those guys are cloistered. They don't live the same lives we do, and that goes back to the college football playoff committee too, about why they would have Notre Dame ahead of Miami this entire time. Like, don't you understand that you are painting yourself into a corner? You're going to look really bad. Those guys don't have the same conversations we do. They are clueless. I mean,
how,
that's my
how are they in charge of this whole thing? It doesn't make any sense. I know people ask that all the time.
so that's kind of my final thought there. All right, let's move on. Let's do some quick picks for the week. Done a selection of 5 games here. I kind of put some other games. I know you don't care about the Xbox Bowl or the Myrtle Beach Bowl. But we are going to pick the Gasparilla Bowl as
Good.
part of this. So it's been a while since we've revisited our picks. Lee, you and I finished the regular season plus conference championship week tied. We both went 35-40 for the weekend. You had a huge lead over me at one point in time this year, and I have closed the gap. Some would say that I didn't close the gap. Some would say that you lost it, that you closed the gap all yourself. So,
Oh, yeah, it's bad.
yeah,
Yeah, good job.
you have not been feeling it lately, and it's come at the worst time for you, because that's where I make my money, man. I have just I think it's been about 5 years, I have been scorching hot during bowl season. And so we're going to try to keep that going this year. I don't know. I'm already off to a good start in like my bowl pick'em stuff. So it is
Actually,
what it
so am
is.
I. I am too,
Okay. Well,
believe it or not. But I have not done any research on any of these games. So,
oh, well, that's fun then. So, all right, the one bowl game that we are going to pick as part of our 5 right now is the Gasparilla Bowl. And I
hey, I
believe
see
it is
2 bowl games in it. Oh, never mind.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
don't. No,
Go
I
ahead.
don't. I got a
I got
curveball
you.
in
I
there.
got
I
you.
got the
I got you. Okay.
curveball in there. I believe this is the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl, actually, who kindly enough was a sponsor of our OU opponent superlative earlier this year. Thank you, Bad Boy Mowers.
Well,
Um,
hold on. I got some breaking news though. I mean, it's no longer the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl.
is
It's
it not? What
that
is it?
sponsorship is expired. It's the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl.
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. Is Gasparilla what's is Gasparilla that beverage that kind of tastes like root beer? No, that's
That's
sarsaparilla.
that's that's sarsaparilla.
Never mind. In the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl presented by Bad Boy Mowers, which is which is on Friday afternoon at 1:30 before OU and Alabama kick off the college football playoff. Memphis is a 4.5-point underdog against Lee's North Carolina State Wolfpack. I have no idea where to go on this. I'm actually geez. I'm gonna go with Memphis because the ACC is bad. So I'm gonna go Memphis plus 4.5.
I'll go NC State. I think Memphis has been on a tailspin, and then they lose their coach, and actually could be a good thing. I'm not sure if their coach is any good. So, but yeah, the four that's in the Vegas zone. I'll take NC State to hold the banner of the ACC.
All right, the curveball that I mentioned before we get to the other college football playoff games. Lee, OU's opponent in their season opener this year, the Illinois State Redbirds, they're on quite a run in the FCS playoffs. I believe this is the FCS semifinals. They will
Final
travel.
Four, baby.
Yeah, they beat that. It's been since we haven't done a show since they beat North Dakota State a couple of weeks ago, which was
And then won again.
which them beating North Dakota State was one of the biggest upsets like in the history of the FCS playoffs. So that's pretty cool. We saw that coming, man. We saw that great team. Anyway, they are traveling to Philadelphia on Saturday at 6:30 p.m. to face the Villanova Wildcats. No, this is not the Villanova Wildcats basketball team coached by Jay Wright. This is apparently the football team that they definitely have at that school. And Villanova is a 1.5-point favorite playing at home against Illinois State. Man, I'm rolling with the Redbirds. Obviously going to roll with the Redbirds. Brock Spax Redbirds.
Well, here's the interesting thing is that so Illinois State's they've already upset the number one seed, North Dakota State, in the Fargo Dome, and then last week they beat UC Davis by double digits, and UC Davis was the 8 seed, and Villanova's a 12 seed, so that's why this line is so short. But unfortunately, I'm going to go ahead and say this is going to be the end of the line for the Redbirds. I'll take the Wildcats.
The clock strikes midnight on the Illinois State Cinderella story. So says Lee. I'm rolling with Coach Spack in the Redbirds from Normal, Illinois.
A good amount of unseeded and lower seeded teams did well in the FCS tournament this year, the 2014 playoff, and it's
a totally different sport. Those teams do not have a bunch of creatures on the defensive line that you have to go up against.
Doesn't matter. It would all even out.
Very much
over time. It would all even out. No, it doesn't. It would all even. Like you're telling me, like USC wouldn't be able to win a game,
just
in like a 2014 playoff.
Say if God willing, if the Oklahoma Sooners are playing in Pasadena, California on January 1st, you are going to see how much it matters that you have NFL players on the defensive line. You'll see how much it matters.
No, it's either way. It all evens out. You expand it, it gets it all, like the parity happens, man. And like NDSU, the FCS, they've won a lot of titles. That upsets never happened before, but it did. They've had that playoff format for 12 years now, I think, maybe 13.
And NDSU's really good. They don't got a lot of NFL players on their team. So therefore they are beatable.
I mean, the parity in college football has been a lot different over the last couple of years with NIL and the transfer portal, and it's only going to get more and more the same, man. The players are going to spread out. So
I just see.
And I think arguing that is you're limiting yourself in general.
I think
Get rid of the
expanding the
conference title
playoff.
games.
I think expanding the playoff from here with the super conferences is a bad idea. Anyway, on to the main show, college football playoff, 11 a.m. on ABC on Saturday.
You gonna put a
Lee's.
line for this game or no?
Did I not put a line on there? Oh no, I don't know what it is. Can you, while I vamp real quick, can you get a number?
Yeah, it's well. First of all, say the game.
Oh yes, Miami, Florida, coached by Lee's favorite coach Mario Cristobal, goes into College Station, Texas, a place where Lee used to be employed, so therefore he's a secret Texas A&M fan. Texas
Gig
A&M is
'em.
the home team, and they're also favored. I don't know what the number is. Was Lee looking it up? Who knows? Who can say?
3.5.
Texas A&M is favored by 3.5. Lee, this to me is I actually because I do think that Texas A&M is like kind of like a schedule merchant this year. Even though I mean, going and winning 3 months ago in South Bend was a really really good win. But the best SEC team they played this year was Texas, and they lost by double digits. And Texas looked like the pretty clearly superior team. That was not a fluke at all. That being said, Miami is coached by Mario Cristobal. Texas A&M is coached not by Mario Cristobal. Therefore, I know who I'm picking. I'm going to go with the Fighting Aggies. Give me Texas A&M.
It's tough. These are two bet against teams. These are two teams you want to bet against, and yet they're playing. And I'll take three. I'll take the hook. I'll take Miami. Um, Mainly just because of that. I feel like I've been on the wrong side of Mario all year, and I like the hook. Be a close game, but I'm with you. I mean, it's tough because it's like A&M's played kind of a weak SEC schedule. They got beat up, but I do think the SEC is much better than the ACC. Obviously, that's not a hot take. Everyone knows that. But Miami's obviously a good football team, and they're going to want to prove people wrong. And so I'll bet that it'll be maybe at least a field goal game.
Miami, I think, is in terms of personnel, is interesting. I think they have the most overrated player in the country, Reuben Bain Jr., and maybe the most underrated player in the country this year, Carson Beck, who has been really good this year. Other than he's kind of thrown a lot of picks, but he's still a really good player. Moving on to the second half of the CFP schedule this week, and it's woof. These are two just woof games. These are bad games. These are not interesting at all. It kind of is what it is. I blame the ACC's weird tiebreakers for these games being pretty meh. Ole Miss is 17.5-point favorite playing at home against Tulane, a team they have already beaten by 35 points earlier this season. Pretty easy. I'm going to take Ole Miss here. I think Ole Miss wins this game close to the same score they won the last time.
I'll give me Tulane. I'll take it. Summerall's still there without Lane. It's a kind of a weird situation. I don't know how they keep it close, but I'll take the 17.5.
Tulane, a team I've oddly watched a lot this year. Not a very good team. It's not a very good team.
I know they're not.
North Texas, not being able to go in and win that game. Because I think North Texas against Ole Miss I'd still favor Ole Miss heavily, but that would have been a fun game. You're North Texas. You can't lose that game. Eric Morris going off to Oklahoma State. You can't lose that game to like Tulane. I'm not even sure Tulane is one of the 5 best G5 teams. Like they're not very good. So, all right. And then we go from one sort of unwatchable game to another unwatchable game. James Madison is a 21-point underdog to Oregon in Autzen Stadium on Saturday night. I'm gonna take Oregon. They're gonna win this game by a lot. Ain't no way Dan Lanning is letting James Madison hang around and make this game interesting. No freaking way. So I'm like, it's a cliche at this point, but Oregon is going to absolutely smoke James Madison.
Question: why is this line not bigger?
I think
it's been like stuck at 21 and a half. It hasn't really moved.
I think the predictive analytics have JMU as the best G5 team by like quite a bit. Like I think they're a fringe top 20 team per like SP plus, FPI, and all of that. But
Because yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I'll take Oregon, but I'm surprised this is not like 28.5. They man, who was the team they played?
Liberty.
With boat Liberty, yeah, and they just boat raced
And they
Liberty.
didn't like they just rolled out of bed. Like wasn't even anything. They just so
And what? Yeah,
I'm kind of I was always when we were talking about expanding the playoff and everything, I was always a big proponent of leaving, a spot at the table open for a G5 rep. I think it makes just way less sense in this era now with NIL and with the power with like the two super conferences. It just doesn't make as much sense. Seeing as that now all of the best players from G5 programs, if they have a good season, they get in the transfer portal and they go to one of the power conferences. Um, I'm
so what does make the FCS model better and doable is because they take there's 10 conference winners. And so they all get automatic bids. There's no conference championship games, but if you win your conference, you get an automatic bid, and then there's 14 at larges. And so, to your point, with the giant conferences now, it's not as even. So, yeah, I'm with you. Like, in a perfect world, it would need to be spread out to how many conferences are there now? I don't even know. I mean, the
I mean,
Pac 12's gone.
there's less than there used to be, but they need to. If I don't think 24 is feasible anymore with just the conference structure. 16 is gonna happen. I mean, it's gonna happen. So, but even then,
I mean, 24 is definitely feasible. There's a blueprint for it that's
gonna
happening at a different
produce a
level.
lot of really bad games in the playoff,
Okay,
like a lot of really bad games.
let's see it. Let's
No,
see it
I'm
before you
sorry.
knock it. It's
No one wants to watch Western Michigan go play Oregon, and that's
the
no one
top
wants to see
eight get a
that.
bye. There's top eight get a bye. The first round, there's not
No
going to
one
be
wants
games
to
like
watch
that.
Western Michigan go play Alabama. No one wants to watch that.
That, that would not. Well, that would only happen if Western Michigan upset a team in the first round. They went on to play them.
What right? Alabama would be the 9 seed right now. They wouldn't. They'd be playing. They'd be the top seed playing in the first round. Alabama would be
Oh,
as the 9 seed would be playing the
okay. Well,
lowest.
that's Alabama in a 9 seed. So okay, fine.
I just I in the G the mid major teams are a lot worse now than they were 10 years ago. Like a lot worse.
You get away from the whole like, oh, do they have an opportunity to play? They're all playing in the same league, and technically everybody has a chance to win a national championship. Technically, they can win their conference and make the dance. There's no argument of like, oh man, like what's all this stuff about people like, oh, to go to and just a big super conference with their own championship game with just SEC and Big Ten, and oh, you can't do that because of the FCS or the Group of Five is going to sue you because they can't have this blah blah blah. All that crap wouldn't even be a thing. It would be like everybody would have a direct path to a title, and as time played out,
Yeah, I don't think
I think it'd be better.
I don't think it'd be as compelling. There'd be a lot of
Be,
rematches in the playoff. There'd be a lot of teams from the
so
same
what?
conference playing each other again.
What do you want out of the sport? There would be less layoff. The bowl games would go away. Thank goodness. I bowl game. I don't care, but traditionalists like the bowl games. I don't care about the bowl games. Um, but you could implement the bowl games with the playoff games kind of that do now, and there would be less time off. There would be like no time. You'd go kind of like the NFL. You go right straight into the playoff. There wouldn't be these 20-day breaks. You go right in.
Yeah, I mean, I think in some ways it would be cool. Like, I mean, a lot of this, if you played, for instance, like the second round games on campus, a lot of those games would be terrific. Those would be great matchups. But you're yada yadaing a lot to get to that point, and we've come a long way from like the Boise State and TCU teams that were winning BCS games. I mean, would be 3 to 4 touchdown favorites over the G5 teams in the playoff right now. Like, I mean, it
Boise
would be.
State was a good team last year. They're good.
I mean, they
They're
had
one. We're one.
because they had the best player in the country on their team. Like that, how often is
We're
that going
one
to
year
happen?
removed from it.
Well, yeah, they're like their entire team was exactly the same this year. They took off Ashton Genty. They did win the Mountain West, but also they're the Mountain West champions. And did you see them just get absolutely housed by Washington, like the 7th best team in the Big Ten? That's kind of
Yeah,
what you're
I did.
signing up for in a lot if you expand it past that. And I whatever, like I'd watch it. I'd
That's
obviously
fine.
watch
If you
it.
don't want to see it, I do want to see it. That's what
But
I like about playoffs.
but I think you'd probably also be signing up for a lot of like, oh sweet, Illinois is gonna play Nebraska again in the first round. Can't wait to watch that. Like, a lot of that would happen. Be a lot of like,
Yeah, I choose to look at I choose not to look at potential downside stuff when things that are working in a different setting, and until it's implemented, I think it'd be good.
well, hey, I mean, get your Big Ten buddies on the horn because that's what the Big Ten
I know, I
commissioners
love
have
it.
been.
I'll say it again, man. Like, so many people were against playoff expansion for the longest time, and a lot of those people, I would bet, if not all of them, have come around and realized, oh, this is cool. I like this.
Just wait,
More
be
teams have reasons to care about games later in the year.
be
There's more
far
stakes.
more compelling if the most recent realignment hadn't have happened. Be way more compelling. Whereas now you're just all of the biggest brands are in the same conference now. They play each other anyway.
I mean, honestly, let's see. There's how many conferences are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, Pac-12 is still listed, but the Pac-12 not. So it's basically 9 conferences now. So I guess you could do the 9. I don't know. Maybe they would do if they want to have the similar FCS model. It would be how about that? It's kind of unfair for people in a conference, but you could do the 9 conference champions, take away the conference title games, and maybe like the independent team with the best record get automatic bids. Then there's like 10. Then you do 14 at larges, and then boom, there you go.
Why would you need the 10 automatic bids? Why?
Well, that's just because that's how the FCS is set up.
Yeah,
There's
I
10
don't know why.
conferences. There's 10
Why you
conference
just
champions that get automatic bids.
why you just the conference champions all get automatic bids and there's just 15 at-large teams.
You can do that too. Sure.
Like, and then you don't, and then you just seed them like you seed the college baseball. It's just then you just seed them by who you think is the best team.
Yeah, and there's a committee that does that at the FCS level. The FCS level, they seed everybody. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and I'm not like I want like I don't want the G5 to go away. I still want them to be playing the same sport and everything, but it's the major conferences have moved away from that, and I don't know, like I need to learn to like it, but they're just
Who's to say,
basically only
man?
being two. They're just being only two conferences is just not good for the sport, and
I think it's been fine, but I mean, we want different things. And I mean, who's to say that the parity would certain players? I think players are still going to be going to find places to play where they can actually start and play. And then what if you're in the MAC and you know that hey, I can literally make the playoff if we win the conference. Go to the best MAC team. Maybe if you want to go to the playoff, I'm not going to guarantee if you're playing for Rutgers, you're playing for Illinois. Maybe you're not going to make the playoff, but heck, maybe you're a pretty good player and you go to Western Michigan, like you like to mention them, and you get a shot to go to the playoff. I mean, it depends on what you want. I don't know. I mean, it's a recruiting thing too. I think things can take care of itself. I think that's just the way sports work and competition works when it's spread out.
yeah, I don't think the G5 teams would ever really be competitive. I'm not certain that we would really ever see upsets like that. So for as good as North Dakota State is, like in terms of talent profile, it's not that big of a gap between them and Illinois State.
I mean, we've always been saying that North Dakota State, they could probably play like in the Big 12 or the Big 10 and be like a 8-9 win team at their max.
Probably, yeah.
So, I mean, like if Washington played Illinois State, Washington boat race is Illinois State.
Maybe, yeah, probably. But it's
which
not
I guess
like,
I'm making your point.
Like an 8-4 Big 12 team losing to a top 10 FCS team be a really big upset, but that's not like unprecedented.
Okay. This is our longest episode ever. We'll break it up into 2 parts.
Almost certain. I'm not going to break it. No, game's in less than 2 days. Of course we're not. We'll just throw it out there and just see what happens. I'm not putting timestamps on it either. AI does all that for us now. We need to bow to our overlords.
All right. Well, I think we get the final crack at it. So, everyone enjoy the game. What are you gonna watch at home? What are you gonna do? You got plans for the game?
I'm gonna watch it in crystal clear 4K at home.
All right.
Hat tip to ESPN for broadcasting the game in 4K.
All right. Well, I'll plan to be there, and weather looks like it's gonna be beautiful. Might be a little bit more windy than I would like it to be, but I don't think it's gonna be as bad as it was the last game. And maybe like 15, 20 mile an hour here and there, but maybe it's gonna be anyway. It doesn't matter. Let's have fun. Hopefully, it's fun. Let's get a win. Oklahoma goes to the Rose Bowl, and Saturday morning we can wake up and do a podcast and be excited and talk about a W. Be a lot more fun than talking about a loss. That's for sure.
Hot take.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Nib high football rules.
All right. Enjoy OU Alabama Part 2, everyone. We'll be back afterwards to talk all about it. Until then, for Grant, I am Lee. This is West of Everest's longest show ever. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to the show. And if you want to help us spread the word, please leave us a 5-star review. And also, tell all of your friends who are OU fans about West of Everest. You can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and SoundCloud.